Right.
I think that crosses the level like into creepy.
Does it really cross a line?
Yeah.
Prove it.
Okay, let's. All right, ready?
All right. Yep.
Hello and welcome to the Watz podcast. I do not remember how I introed it last time, so
We just introed our names and said that we were independent.
right.
filmmakers.
But every podcast has to have the like nice intro at the beginning, like hello,
No, it
and
doesn't.
welcome to the podcast where things happen. And I did it last time.
There's
I
our
think, but
intro. Hello and welcome to the podcast where things happen.
That's about right for this podcast.
That's
in
about
all-
right
in
for
all
any
honesty.
podcast that we do.
Oh my god!
Uh.
All right, so
Yep.
you will not hear this on Christmas because we are recording it on Christmas.
And because we're not that quick at
No.
putting stuff out.
No, it is.
I still have yet to edit the last one.
It's already 9:30. So
Oh shit, it's 9:30. We got to get this up in an hour.
fuck that. No. All right. So
Okay.
it is Christmas. Anything cool happen? Any like cool gifts?
Well, I got some movies, Reanimator from Arrow, that was a limited release. Got some other stuff, but I also got.
Well, we're jumping into that now. You're not even gonna let me say what I got.
Hey, you were asking what I got.
Okay, fine. Yes, you got something else that's sitting on the table right
Yes,
now.
from Japan. It's Kit Kats, but it's sake flavored.
Japan is obsessed with Kit Kat bars.
Yes.
Like they have fuck tons of different flavors.
Roasted
it's
potato
ridiculous.
flavor. That's an actual flavor.
They have green tea flavored
Yep.
Kit Kats.
I've
and all
had it. It's actually
kinds
pretty
of
good.
Crazy shit. Everybody
Yep.
likes the green tea ones. I've never had them
Yeah.
though.
I've had the wasabi one as well. That's
Oh
pretty
yeah,
good.
that was another one.
Cat,
God
what
damn
the
it.
fuck are you doing? Get out of our cables.
Well, we have an actual rack for our gear. This won't be a problem anymore. Fucking cat.
It's still gonna be a problem. We know it.
Anyway, so yes, you have these sake flavored Kit Kat bars. Now, I hate sake,
Yeah.
so this is gonna be fun.
Oh yeah. My brother also got a box of this, and we'd opened it up, and it just smells like straight alcohol.
We'll open it up and let me smell it. Let me react to it. We're a
Yeah.
react.
We're doing this
channel
already.
now. Yeah,
All right.
let's do it. Let's
Come here-
let's
God
get it out of the
damn
way
it.
first.
All right.
Oh yeah, those lovely box opening sounds. Yeah.
All right. Here's the inner packaging.
Oh, it's lovely.
That's
yes.
it's just a bag, a weird bag.
Yeah, it is kind of an odd bag.
Yeah. Oh yeah. By the way, all of the text on this is in Japanese. Got it straight from Japan.
I assumed we just split this one.
Yep.
All right.
We can go for it.
So, yes, it straight up does just smell like sake, which, in other words, it smells like a locker room.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
That delicious smell of
That's-
alcohol.
that's yeah. All right.
All right.
Have you
got one.
have you eaten one of these yet?
I have not yet.
Okay. So, here we go. These are tiny Kit Kats, too.
I know.
All right.
Dude.
Let's try this. That's very peculiar.
Yep.
First of all, it's white chocolate.
Yep.
That's coming through the alcohol flavor, but it tastes like it has coconut in it.
A little bit, yeah. Well, I have no clue what's in it because the ingredients on the box are written in Japanese. So,
Yeah, so there is like a pretty pungent like sake flavor off the top, but then it just devolves into like white chocolate and coconut.
yeah. That was interesting.
Yeah, not nearly as bad as I had hoped. It's more just it tastes more like a novelty
Oh,
than something anybody would actually buy, which I guess is expected.
yeah. I mean, I'm going to end up buying another one of these things because that's fucking hilarious.
Just
But-
keep the box around.
Shut up.
Why you gotta buy more of them?
To force other people to eat them.
Oh my god. Okay, point. Good point.
Anyways, don't expect this to be a regular thing either.
No. Like every week we're trying a new Kit Kat flavor.
From Japan.
God. No.
No, but
So,
if we get something cool on here or something interesting to eat like this, we may eat it, may not. I don't know.
so my Christmas was basically comprised almost entirely of movies. I think I got total me plus my two parents combined ended up with 18 movies total.
Not bad.
I got a lot of really nice movies that I actually paid for, so I don't even know if you could call that Christmas or me just buying movies, but nice nonetheless.
Yeah.
I got it's a mad world.
It's
However
a
fucking many mads
it's
are
a
in
mad,
there.
mad, mad, mad world.
Yeah, I got the Criterion edition of that, to go with my unopened laser disc of it.
Right. Right. I completely forgot you
Yeah,
had that.
it's sitting up there on my shelf. Yep. I got Barton Fink. I got Seven, the Digibook. I got Color Purple Digibook. I got Midnight Express Digibook. Oh fuck. Oh, From Beyond. And I think there was something else, but I don't remember. Oh, Dunkirk, which I saw in theaters.
So did I.
Let's see. We also got the Men in Black 20th anniversary trilogy, which is
Wait, they made 3 of those?
yeah. The third one's awful.
I only knew that they made 2.
Yeah, the third one's not even that old.
Huh.
I
right.
wouldn't hesitate to guess as to what year, but it's not that old. But the box is nice, and it is my first 4K Blu-ray
Oh,
set.
cool.
Not that I have any way of playing it.
No.
It comes with the standard Blu-rays as well, and so that's how we'll be watching it. But
I have a few 4K movies myself. I just DSR them with my computer, so
well, I don't have a 4K player on my computer.
that would hinder you.
Yes, it would. I'm going to be looking into it, though. I almost considered getting the 4K version of Dunkirk also because it has the standard Blu-ray in it.
Yeah.
But might as well save the $5 or so bucks or whatever on it.
Yeah, I thought about buying Resident Evil Vendetta on 4K Blu-ray because it's on 4K Blu-ray.
Vendetta? I don't know that one.
It's one of the animated
Okay.
ones. And I was thinking about it because the movie looks great for, an animated film.
Mm-hmm.
But it really wasn't worth it to spend my money on a 4K Blu-ray of that. I'll pick it up on regular Blu-ray
Yeah.
because from what I've read on Blu-ray.com, you're only getting slightly more detail in the 4K, and that's about it.
Mm.
It still has all the same issues that they normally have with movies.
Well, this sort of leads us into the first topic that I wanted to talk about.
All right.
I want to talk about the weird situation we're in with DVD Blu-ray and 4K Blu-ray.
Yeah.
Because when you think about it, like I was standing in the store the other day, and I'm like, we're moving on to 4K, right? So the last generation is Blu-ray,
Yep.
but there are fuck tons of DVDs everywhere.
Oh yeah, they still make plenty of DVDs.
Like when you think about it, so think about sort of the media wars in the 80s and the 90s.
Yeah.
Right in the late 80s, sort of early 90s kind of era, you had VHS versus beta tape versus Laserdisc, right?
Yep.
VHS won out because porn. That's not even a joke.
It's
That's
true. It is
Yeah,
true.
the porn industry took a hold of VHS because it was a little bit cheaper
Yep.
to produce, and so VHS dominated the marketplace. Beta was higher definition. I mean, definition, if you can call it that, on a, So VHS sort of beat out those two, or beta tape, but
yeah.
you still had Laserdisc around, and Laserdisc was sort of the higher end kind of fancy media type.
I have porn on that.
Yes, you do. You
That
have
was-
like a weird Japanese porn Laserdisc.
If you want to look it up, it's called Tokyo Decadence.
Yeah, you
we
can
found-
find the full thing
Yeah.
to watch online.
Yeah.
yeah,
We managed to find that at a used video store
yeah.
because those things still exist.
That's where I got It's a Mad World on Laserdisc as well.
Unopened.
Unopened. Yeah, that was interesting, and I got it for like what, $3 or
Yep,
something
it
like
was
that. It was
$3.
ridiculous. So anyway, that's what happened then, and then you move on to DVD, and DVD sort of marked the end of Laserdisc, and then you had VHS versus DVD, and of course DVD was going to win that war. Like
yeah.
it wasn't even a war, that's the next step up, right? So of course DVD is going to take over. So then you had DVD,
And then HD DVD.
right. Then after that, you had HD DVD versus Blu-ray for the next evolution. Now, HD DVD was shit. I mean, let's be honest. It was shit.
Yeah.
Right? It was 720p. They were trying to cram way more information onto a DVD than it could handle, so most of the HD DVDs were like dual-sided. So yeah, really, Blu-ray was a no-brainer. So Blu-ray wins out and HD DVD dies. So now you have a market comprised of DVD and Blu-ray. And that was sort of the ecosystem for a long time. For a really long time, right? When you think about it, how fast technology sort of progresses, we were stuck with DVD and Blu-ray for, God, like 8 years, maybe more.
Blu-rays came around in 2007 with the PlayStation 3.
Yeah. So 10
And
years.
yeah, and then HD DVD died out shortly after.
Yeah, HD DVD did not
And
survive long, which is why it's always hilarious to me when you walk into like a used movie store. There's like HD DVDs. Who the
oh yeah.
fuck would buy that? Even used, like
I
who
mean,
the fuck would buy that?
I mean, for somebody who enjoys seeing the different video mediums, I would probably buy one. Like I have one video CD.
Yeah. Yeah, well, you got the video CD and the weird Japanese
porn.
Laserdisc porn at the same time.
Yeah.
No, I kind of get that, but it's a little
Yeah.
bit early for that to be collecting HD DVDs as sort of an oddity. Like they're just right now they're just sort of shit.
Yeah.
Right? They're
They're just
meaningless. They're pointless.
Well, I mean, like most of the other shit that I collect, it's meaningless and pointless.
Well, sure, but
But-
I think HD DVDs are even more pointless just because there's no movie that was released on HD DVD but then not released on Blu-ray.
Yeah,
You know what I'm
that's
saying?
true.
Whereas, like, if you look at, there's still movies that haven't been released on DVD that were only released on VHS or Laserdisc,
Yep.
right? That's not true of HD DVD. There's nothing on HD DVD that's not on something else. So for like 10 years, we had DVD and Blu-ray, and now we have 4K Blu-ray, but DVD still hasn't died. The DVD market is still weirdly huge. It's really bizarre to me how DVD, like if you go into Walmart, most of their stock is DVDs, at least the Walmart next to me. That's not true of all Walmarts, but the one here, like it's most of their stock in movies and TV shows is all DVDs. DVDs should have died out 8 years ago. You know, if we've had Blu-ray for 10 years, DVD should, maybe cling on for a couple of years and then die, but no, we're still using it. And you still get those Blu-ray plus DVD combo packs. Why? Who the fuck is still stuck on DVD while the rest of the world is trying to move on to not just 4K, but HDR 4K? It's just really bizarre to me. Dunkirk was released on DVD, you know what I'm saying? And it's $20. The Blu-ray is $25. Spend the $5 extra. Treat yourself, you know what I'm saying? Streamed media is the sort of other oddity here, in that everybody's like, oh, physical media is dying because of streams, right?
No, it's not.
Everybody just wants to sit at home and watch Netflix or, buy something on iTunes or whatever. And it's like, okay, if that were true, why do we still have DVDs? You know what I mean? Like, if streaming
That is
would have
true.
killed anything off first, it would have been the DVD, right? But it's
Yep.
still here. Why? I
don't know.
don't get it. Why are we wasting so much plastic making DVDs still? But, okay, like, to put this in perspective, this would be like while the DVD and Blu-ray thing was going on for 10 years, if we also still had VHS, right? I want you to think about that. If VHS only died out once 4K Blu-ray came out, it's fucking bizarre to me. Like, are we going to have to wait for 8K Blu-ray or whatever's next before DVD finally dies? And yeah, and I just feel like we're stuck in this really weird place when it comes to media. So we have that whole weird scenario. But then we also have the odd scenario where Criterion, Arrow, Shout Factory, and what was the other one that I just found out about today that released Barton Fink?
Oh, Kino.
None of them are releasing in 4K, right? All of the like special edition packs or the like really nicely restored movies released by third-party companies are all releasing on Blu-ray, not 4K.
Yeah, they're remastered in 4K, but released on standard Blu-ray.
On standard Blu-ray, which means if you want the really nice collector's boxes, you can't buy them in 4K. You have to buy them in Blu-ray. I just find the place that we're in with media right now very strange. Yeah, that's my gripe with DVD. Like, I was just walking around Walmart and I'm like, why the fuck can't I find any of the movies that I want on Blu-ray? Like, what year are we living in where 480p is still okay?
It's 2007 again.
God. Oh, and that's not even to get into like the shitty state that cases are in now. Like, you remember when you could, like, kill somebody with a DVD
Yep,
case, and
yep.
now they're, like, the thinnest, most brittle plastic ever?
Oh yeah.
Oh my god. Like, one of the movies that I got, I forget which one it is, but it's a movie that I spend $20 on, right? And as soon as you pick it up, you can feel it. It just, like, crushes under just normal picking up.
Right.
And you open it, and the
Yep.
whole thing just sort of flexes open, and it's got that the recycle symbol cut out of it, and then you remove the
Oh
disc,
my
and there's,
god,
like,
I hate those.
there's plastic missing from underneath the
Oh
disc
my
also,
God.
and the whole thing is just so flimsy and dank. Or
I
jank. It's a
Yeah.
dank Blu-ray case, yo.
Oh my god. I fucking hate those. I think like 30% of the DVDs and Blu-rays that I have are those really shit-tastic cases for really new, really popular movies.
Yeah, no, yeah, I know. Well, it's worse for newer movies. It's better if you buy like older collector's editions style movies or anything from like Criterion. They usually have like really nice cases.
Yeah.
And it's also why I like digibooks so much. Those things are fucking solid.
You could kill somebody with it.
With with the Clockwork Orange digibook. Yeah,
Oh,
that
yeah.
thing's pretty thick. Or the Blade Runner one.
With my copy of Blade Runner.
Well, you
the
have the one in the
briefcase.
briefcase. Is that Blu-ray or is that the
That's
DVD one?
That's the DVD.
Yeah.
one.
I don't think did they ever
'Cause-
do that release on Blu-ray?
Yes.
If they did, it was a
limited
very
release.
short run.
Yeah.
Yeah. I remember seeing it in one of the used movie stores around here. Still get the whole briefcase, and I thought about getting it just for the fuck of it, but they wanted like $100 for it. I'm like, no.
It's not worth $100. Let me
Is
tell
the
you.
briefcase metal or is it plastic?
It's plastic.
Ah, that sucks.
From what I can remember. I don't know off the top of my head. I haven't taken that thing out in a while. But it's like pretty solid. It's pretty solid plastic. High quality.
Yeah. So something else. I bought Dunkirk.
Mm-hmm.
Now, when Interstellar was released, it came with an IMAX film cell. Why doesn't Dunkirk? Like, is Dunkirk somehow less special? Like,
I don't
it's-
know.
I mean, it's not necessarily something that I guess should be expected of any release or director,
Yeah.
but it would have been nice, especially because Dunkirk, not only was it shot IMAX like Interstellar and a lot of other Christopher Nolan's movies, but it's the first movie that Christopher Nolan shot entirely 65 millimeter,
Yeah.
right? Even the stuff that wasn't IMAX was still 65. So it would have been nice to have a film cell to go along with that. I looked them up. Apparently, there were some screenings that you got a film cell at, which pisses me off because
I mean, probably New York and L.A.
maybe, but the film cells have like a cell at the bottom
Yeah.
that says I saw projected on film or
Yeah.
whatever the fuck. It's like, well, so did I, and I didn't get shit.
Right. I mean, that was the same with Hateful Eight because they did that.
Oh, well, the Hateful Eight was a road show.
Yeah.
And
well,
And that's the version
had
that
the
I saw.
booklet, yeah.
I have 2 of those booklets.
yeah. No, but from what I can remember, some theaters, like very few, had film cell of it
Oh,
that they gave
sucks.
out. It was like it was New York and L.A. I think.
When I have fuck tons of money, I'm just gonna go crazy and buy a shitload of film cells.
hey, not before cover other costs that
No.
you have.
Film cells are the most important thing in my life. All right, I need them. All right, so let's move on.
All right. What do we got to talk about next?
All right, let's do this real quick. Have you seen the trailer for the new animated Spider-Man movie?
Animated?
Yeah.
No. Well, I've heard about it. I haven't seen it. You seen the trailer?
If I'd thought about it, I would have
But,
shown it to you
yeah.
before this podcast. It looks very strange.
All right.
The animation is 100% digital, like you can fucking tell, but
Oh boy.
it looks nice. It's definitely a cut above like your standard sort of DC or Marvel animated movie. There's definitely something else going on. The whole thing just looks neon. It's crazy. But I guess the idea of the movie is that there's not just one Spider-Man. There's like a shitload of Spider-Man.
Yeah, there are.
Okay, but that's
like from what the only one that I know the name of off the top of my hand is Miles Morales. But there's like a fuck ton of Spider-Man
yeah.
out
Well,
there.
the idea of this movie is that there's a fuck ton of Spider-Men that are all operating at the same time.
At the same time.
Yeah.
Okay, no, then
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's like if New York. if the only superhero in New York was Spider-Man, and there are like a fuck ton of them. So there's like a whole group of Spider-Men that all operate independently, it looks like. And yeah, I don't know. It's very strange.
That sounds like somebody needs to lay off the magic mushrooms.
And it looks like, what's his name? Miles
Morales?
Yeah, it looks like he's the main character because at the very end of the trailer, he, one of the Spider-Men like flips onto a building right into the camera and rips off the hood, and oh, holy shit, black man.
Yeah, that's Miles Morales, probably.
Yeah. And you're like, why did it need that reveal? You know what I mean? Where it's like, it really came off like, look, we have a black person in our movie. It was really odd to me because it's like you couldn't just show him in the rest of the trailer. You had to have this weird intro for him. I don't know. Is this the first movie that character has appeared in? Like, has he appeared in any of the other animated movies?
In the other animated movies, I believe so, and I believe he's appeared in almost all of the animated Spider-Man cartoon shows since the 90s or since whenever the character was created.
Okay, so yeah, I don't know. That just struck me as really weird that we needed to fill the frame with his face, where it's like, why? You couldn't just show him in the rest of the goddamn trailer. You had to wait till the end and make it a weird reveal that everybody kind of saw coming.
I would have been more impressed if he pulled the mask off and it was like Robert Downey Jr. underneath it. Like live action Robert Downey Jr.
Live action Robert Downey Jr., just his head like plastered there.
That would have been funnier.
So yeah, that was this. I don't remember what the name of the movie is. We'll have to.
Fuck if I know.
We'll have to look it up after the podcast. But
I don't know.
Yeah, I'll show you the trailer afterwards. Right now, let's move on to what I actually wanted to talk about, which was Sicario 2. Now, I did think to show you that trailer before we recorded. So what's your first impressions of the Sicario 2 trailer? Actually, you know what? Before we get into that, should we do like a brief overview of what Sicario is in case somebody hasn't seen it?
Go for it.
All right. Sicario is a movie directed by Denis Villeneuve, who is French-Canadian.
French-Canadian, yes.
He's one of my favorite working directors right now, and he obtained that status very quickly with me. I mean, all you have to do is, go watch Enemy, go watch Prisoners, go watch Sicario, go watch Arrival, and then go watch Blade Runner 2049. And, like, if you're not a fan of him, then there's something wrong with you. So he directed Sicario, and it is probably one of the best movies to deal with that subject matter.
For sure.
Because normally, what Sicario is about is sort of a militarized segment of the government that is sort of disguising themselves as police, sort of. But basically, what they're doing is they're trying to stop the cartel, right? Yeah.
They're essentially secret police, I guess.
Yeah, I guess, but they're heavily militarized. And they've got a very questionable character working with them. That character is played by Benicio del Toro. And he's, in a great movie, he was probably the best part of it. It also has Josh Brolin in it. And
Emily Blunt, I think?
One of the things that Denis Villeneuve excels at is atmosphere. When you watch any of his movies, his atmosphere is just absolutely crushing. And usually it's not a positive thing, right? And what I mean by that is the atmosphere is just an atmosphere of crushing dread. Right? Where through the whole movie, you feel like something really fucking bad is about to happen, right? And that feeling never goes away. And that's the same with most of his movies. Less so in Blade Runner, but definitely in Sicario, definitely in Prisoners, and definitely in Enemy. And Arrival, but different. Arrival had more sort of like a positive overtone to it, whereas Sicario and Enemy, and Prisoners is just like human filth. And everything is horrible, and everyone's depressed, right? Arrival was still a little bit more positive than that.
Yeah, and I checked, it is Emily Blunt.
It is Emily Blunt, okay. Anyway, so, Sicario 2. I showed you the trailer for it. Well, how do you feel about Sicario 1?
I really like Sicario 1.
Okay, so I showed you the trailer for Sicario 2.
Yep.
What are your first impressions of that?
It looks like a joke. It just looks like a pure joke.
Okay, is that all you got?
That's the best way to describe it. It feels like they brought up, this would be cool if this happened. Like the fan fiction
Okay.
sort of mentality.
So let me tell you a little bit about it. All right. Now from watching the trailer, Benicio, is that how you pronounce his
that's
name? Okay.
Benicio.
Benicio del Toro and Josh Brolin both return. Emily Blunt, I don't think is in it. Her character doesn't make an appearance anyway in the trailer. So those two actors play the same characters, so they return. So it is more of like a true sequel than something like Jarhead 2, right? Which is honestly what I expected when I heard Sicario 2. I was like, they're jarheading this. That's what's happening. So those two do return. It has the same writer, which really surprised me. It has the same composer. Now, that's questionable because maybe they just reused the score from the first movie. I don't know. So it has those two same actors, same writer, and same composer. It does not have the same DP, which is DP, director of photography, cinematographer. Let's not go mature. Okay, so yes, it does not have the same cinematographer, which is evident because it does not look like the first movie.
No, it does not.
But here's the weird thing. The cinematographer is Ridley Scott's DP. So he shot Prometheus. I think he did All the Money in the World, which is coming out now.
It's out now.
Yeah.
Today.
I think he did that. But he definitely worked on like a fuck ton of Ridley Scott films. Later Ridley Scott.
Yeah.
So he did the new Alien movie. What was it?
Covenant.
Which are nice looking movies. I'll give him that. Not to go into everything else about those movies, but,
yeah, that's a topic for another podcast.
And he also shot Pirates of the Caribbean 2, 3, and 4, which are also nice looking movies.
Yeah,
but Sicario 2 just does not have the atmosphere that the first one did. Like the atmosphere is completely missing.
Yeah,
and that's what was so important about the first one is that atmosphere of crushing dread.
Yeah, this just felt like okay. So you remember the movie SWAT with Samuel L. Jackson?
Yeah.
It was based on a television series from the 70s.
Yeah.
It's come full circle, and there's another television series.
Yeah, I know.
Based on the movie.
I know. Which is fucking stupid.
It looks like this new television series.
It did look weirdly TV.
Yeah.
Because I was saying, Prometheus, Pirates of the Caribbean 2 and 3, they're good looking movies. Mm-hmm. So it was weird finding out that he was the DP when you look at the trailer because it's like it literally looks like, it looks like TV. And so I guess also needless to say, Denis Villeneuve does not return to direct. Not only does he not return to direct, he doesn't even have a producer credit. It doesn't look like he's involved in any way with this.
Yeah, so it looks like a studio decision, probably.
It looks like a cash grab, which
I'm not surprised by.
No, because it doesn't need a sequel. Like that's the thing.
For sure.
You watch the first one and it wraps itself up perfectly fine. It does not need a sequel. There's nothing more to be said.
Yeah, because when I actually saw the post on Facebook that they were making a second one, I did think exactly that.
Yeah, like why? Why? You know what I mean? There's no fucking reason it needs a sequel. It would be like making a sequel to any of Denis Villeneuve's other movies. None of them need sequels. That's one of the reasons that I kind of love him is he makes beautifully self-contained movies.
Though I will reserve my thoughts about Dune until that comes out.
Yeah, that's going to be a whole different thing.
Yeah.
Because yes, Denis Villeneuve is directing Dune. Yep. I would call it a remake, but
I mean, do we really count the original?
Well, but the thing is, it's not a remake of the original. The original sort of just like fucked off and did its own thing. So,
and everybody hates the original too.
Yeah. So,
I mean, this is more. I mean, it's technically a remake, but it's more of
doing it right in the first place.
It's more of it's based on the book, and we're going to pretend that first one never happened.
Yeah, pretty much. So he's basically, I guess, rebooting.
I mean, if you want to use that word,
Dune, and we don't really know anything about it. He's directing it, but we don't know how long it's going to be. We don't know if it's going to be like a trilogy or anything.
We literally just know that he's directing it. That's it.
That's all we know about it. And after seeing Blade Runner, which Blade Runner is what really cemented him in my mind as a great director, because Enemy and Prisoners both have issues. But they're good movies overall. But then you look at Sicario, which is a great movie. Then you look at Arrival, which is a mind-blowing movie, right? Blade Runner, Not as good as Arrival. I have
Yep.
some qualms with it, but still, great movie.
Mhm.
So I have faith that he will do Dune properly. But we'll see. We'll see if
Yeah.
he's steamrolled by the studio.
Yeah. For me, this is one movie that I have really high expectations. I've seen that
Expectations or hope?
both, I guess. Expectations in that Denis Villeneuve has been able to produce top quality films so
Yeah.
far. And hope in that Dune is very close book to my heart.
Mhm.
It's probably one of my favorite science fiction books out there. My favorite space opera by far.
See, I've never read it.
Yeah.
So it's gonna be, I guess, more important to you than it is to me. I just want a good movie.
Yeah.
I'm tired of shit movies. I just want a good movie.
Same here.
So
I mean, you're telling me the day after I saw the new Star Wars. So
we're not we're not gonna get into. Actually,
yet.
we were gonna talk about something to do with that.
we were going to talk about we'll figure it out. We'll just go through what we
I don't
have so
remember what it
far.
was because I actively don't want to review it.
Yeah.
But we were gonna talk about something, and I don't remember what it was.
How
But anyway,
stupid it was.
That's a review. Anyway, Dune.
Back on topic. Dune. What about Dune?
Nothing. You were still talking, and I interrupted you. Star Wars. What did you have to say about Star Wars? I don't want to sit here for like a fucking hour and review it.
I'll just say it's bad.
Oh,
But-
I remember what I wanted to talk about. But go ahead. Go ahead.
It's bad, but it's not as bad as people seem to think it is. It's probably a 40% rated movie. There's some horrible moments. There's some pretty cool moments, but
Yeah,
overall,
like
it's just
fucking weird space Leia.
yes. Overall,
I'm never gonna let that go. By the way, ever.
I know. It was really fucking dumb. But overall, it was just a mediocre movie. It was there. It's Disney. Fuck. Whatever. You know?
So okay, I remembered what I wanted to talk about.
All right.
Now, on the last episode, we talked a lot about Disney.
Oh, yeah.
Right. And we recorded that before Last Jedi came out.
Yep.
Now that Last Jedi has come out, and now that I'm seeing people's reactions to it, I think something really interesting is happening.
Yeah.
I think people are starting to get tired of Disney. So, without going into too much detail or a massive rant like I did last time,
Yeah.
basically, when you look at the way Disney is handling Star Wars, I think Star Wars is what is going to tear people away from Disney. Because if you look at what they're doing with Marvel,
Yep.
which everybody loves for reasons that I cannot fathom.
Though it's starting to look like people aren't going to like the new one.
Exactly. So now, okay, so you have like the first two whatever fucking waves of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, whatever they call those fucking things.
3 so far, I think.
Three
I
waves.
think it's 3
whatever.
now.
I don't give a shit.
3 phases. It's
Um,
phases. That was it.
These are movies entirely designed to profit off of nerd culture, basically.
Yeah.
Nobody who makes them gives a fuck about these movies, right?
No.
But I think they stepped in a little bit of doo-doo when it comes to Star Wars. Star Wars fans really do care. For the most part, there's always the idiots that you look up, the premieres of the prequels, and of the idiot fanboys who are like, yeah, fucking Jar Jar's awesome. There's always that guy, right? But I think
that's just George
Is that
Lucas's
just
multiple
George Lucas?
accounts.
Okay. But I think Star Wars fans overall have really high expectations of
Yeah.
Star Wars. And I think the reason is when you look at the Marvel movies, you're transcending medium.
Yeah.
Right? So you're going from comic books to movies. With
Mhm.
Star Wars, you're not doing that. Right?
Yeah.
Everybody knows what a Star Wars movie should look like.
Mm-hmm.
The prequels clearly don't look like that, and neither do these movies.
Mm-mm.
And I think it's starting to get under people's skin. Right?
Yep.
Because you had Episode 7, Force Awakens, come out to mostly good reviews, but there were still those people who were like, I don't know, this is just a rehash.
Yeah. Now keep in mind those mostly good reviews have been declining as people are rewatching
Yeah,
the film.
yeah. As people rewatch The Force Awakens, I think it's becoming less and less popular. I know we saw that happen real time with one of our friends.
Oh, yeah.
Basically, the first time he watched it, he was like, "This is the best fucking movie ever made." And then, the longer it went on, he would just start being like, "You know what? This movie's kind of stupid." And it's like, yeah, because it is.
Yeah.
Um,
And seeing that mentality with him is carried over into the new movie as well. He's like, yeah, this was kind of a mediocre movie.
So I think that's what we're starting to see is like the fanboys sort of like flared out when it came to episode 7,
Yeah.
and then we saw what was the in between one?
Rogue One.
Rogue One. We saw Rogue One.
Everybody fucking loves that still, though.
Yeah, but there was still even people going like, "There's this, I don't
yeah.
know about that." It feels like people. It feels more like people want to love it more than they actually do love it.
Yeah.
Right. Now,
I mean-
full disclosure, I watched about 20 minutes
Yeah.
of what was it called again? Rogue One.
Yeah.
I watched about 20 minutes and turned it the fuck off. Like, it's one of the most poorly paced movies I've ever fucking seen in my life.
Yeah.
I don't understand how people watch that and were like, "No, this is great."
Yeah.
Because like the story pacing is mind-bogglingly bad in that movie.
I've seen the movie, I think, twice now. Once was this mutual friend that we've talked about. And once it was on Netflix, and I just put it on in the background.
That's what I did. I saw it on Netflix, and I was like, I may as well just watch this.
Yeah. And I only watched it a second time just to try to recollect my thoughts on what I felt on the movie.
Mm-hmm.
And that second time was just a drag. Like, if the best thing that people say about the movie is the last 5 minutes, go fuck yourself.
Yeah,
film.
that's what I keep hearing. Where everyone's like, "Oh, but the last 5-10 minutes
so
are
worth it."
really good." It's like,
Yeah.
no, the rest of the movie has to get me there.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, you have people like, okay, when the movie first comes out, it's a burst of people like, "Oh my god, this movie's great." But then the longer it goes on, right, the more decline, and people actually look at it and go, "This is kind of dumb. Like, there's some stupid shit in these movies."
Yep.
And what was interesting is The Last Jedi comes out, and it happened immediately.
It broke a record, in fact. It has the largest drop-off from first to second week for ticket sales for a movie ever.
Really? I didn't even know that.
It broke that record. I think it's expected to be on par for the next week as well for that. Again, to hit that.
That's interesting. That's really interesting because that's just sort of more proof of what I'm talking about is I really feel like people are starting to lose their drone-like obedience to Disney because you would expect the big thing, Star Wars, the next Star Wars movie's out, guys, it's fucking amazing. But instead people went and saw it and came back and they were like, Leia's floating around in outer space. Yoda's a crazy asshole. Luke dies. Spoilers. And people are sort of really disenfranchised, I think. And
Laura Dern shows up for some reason.
And so you look at Rotten Tomatoes, and it's got like a 92% critic score, but the audience score is 52%.
Yep.
Right.
And that's dropped. When it first came out, it was 57 the first weekend it came out.
Yeah, I think I remember seeing that.
And then about halfway through the week, it dropped to a 54, and now it's at a 52.
Yeah, so I think it's really interesting because not only are we seeing the people becoming frustrated with these Star Wars movies.
Frustrated to the point where people have made a petition to take this new movie out of the canon.
Yeah, you told me about that. That's hilarious.
Yep.
So not only are people frustrated with the new Star Wars movies, Star Wars fans are frustrated that they still can't obtain the original unaltered Star Wars movies.
Oh, yeah.
And Disney, as far as I know, has no intentions of releasing them.
Kathleen Kennedy said that the original unedited ones are George's property, and we are not going to touch them.
So, yeah, I think people are pissed about that. And then you look at sort of the behind the scenes with the Marvel movies, and you have actors jumping ship. Right?
Yep.
You have Robert Downey Jr. doesn't want to be involved anymore. And can you fucking blame him?
Yeah.
Like, he's a really good actor, and now he's just been pinholed as Iron Man. When he can do other shit, he's a really fucking good actor. Like, and
Chris Evans wants out.
Chris Evans wants out. Somebody else did too.
I believe it was Mark Ruffalo. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I think it was. I think it was Mark Ruffalo. What's his name who plays Thor?
Chris Hemsworth.
Chris Hemsworth.
Chris Hemsworth.
Chris Hemsworth is happy right now.
Well,
but
he's just happy because he has a role, I'm sure.
well, he has a role that's in something other than Ghostbusters.
Yeah.
But I think we'll start seeing him get frustrated soon too. Yeah. Because he made this new Thor movie in sort of the way that he wanted to make it, and it's like sillier and all that kind of stuff. But I think Disney is not going to let him do that for much longer.
It was similar and directed by the guy who directed What We Do in the Shadows, which was fucking weird that he's directing it.
Yeah, well, it's because he's not. Like we said last week, the movie was directed by a fucking board of businessmen.
Yeah. Well, and you can tell where he directed because it feels like jabs at Disney.
but yeah, so I think this is interesting. I really think we're seeing the very beginnings of not like the fall of Disney, not that Disney is ever gonna like crumble into nothingness. But
despite what I wish.
Yeah. But I think we're starting to see the people become, like I said, really disenfranchised with them. I think people are going to start becoming frustrated. They're not going to want to follow Disney's path for much longer, especially with this the Fox buyout.
Yeah,
I think people, after people get their head out of their ass, I think they're going to realize what that actually means, and they're going to start seeing the issues it's making. I think we talked about last week. There's already a lawsuit being brought against them.
The antitrust committee is looking into it.
Okay,
that's the last.
So they're looking into it.
Yeah.
So I really feel like Disney is flying too close to the sun right now, and they're gonna crash.
Yeah, and I think most of what it is the fact that if you go to the theater, probably at least half of what's in the theater is a Disney film.
Yeah, I know.
And
it
that's
fucking
not,
pisses me off. Like, that shit's not okay.
It's completely antitrust.
It's
not fair play. It's not fair ground. Because they are literally buying the theater, the auditoriums in the theaters for amounts of periods where they can't do anything else with them.
Yeah.
For ridiculous amounts of periods as well.
I mean, and just look at what Disney did to Quentin Tarantino with Hateful Eight.
Yep.
Tarantino, I forget which theater it was. Do you remember?
I do not.
It was an older theater that means something to Tarantino, right? He has like history with that theater.
Yeah.
Or I mean, he really loves that theater, and it was gonna be where his premiere was for Hateful Eight, and it was gonna be projected on film, 70 millimeter, and everything was gonna be great. But then Disney comes in, throws a fuck ton of money at the theater, and buys it out for what would have been the entire run of Hateful Eight. So that Tarantino couldn't use it. I mean, it's just like,
that's petty.
Disney gives no fucks. It's ridiculous. And yeah, when you walk into a theater any time of the year, and half the shit on the wall is Disney, and it's going to be even more than that now that they own Fox.
Oh yeah.
Right? So when you see almost every movie in every theater is connected to Disney in some way, that's not okay. Especially when they can't make good movies, right? Like, it's, oh my God, it pisses me off that people cannot wrap their heads around this, right? Where it's not a good thing for one company to own such a massive portion of an industry.
Yeah. And growing up, the whole learning about Disney and everything behind the scenes with them is sort of a stab in my childhood, because I grew up with the 80s and 90s, the Lion King and all that shit, and it's like,
yeah, so did I.
Those movies they were so good.
Did you grow up with the Disney cartoons, like Saturday morning cartoons?
Yes, as well as those. I grew up with those as well, and even into the mid 2000s, Kim Possible. Earlier than that, Gargoyles.
See, I missed out on the 90s Disney television because I didn't have cable as a kid, which is, sad for me.
I know.
But, no, yeah, when I got a little bit older, like early teens, Kim Possible, American Dragon.
God,
God, there was another one. I don't remember. Whatever. Kim Possible and American Dragon were both great.
Yep.
And of course, Disney animated movies. Even though I have a hard time dealing with, like, I don't like musicals.
Yeah.
But you cannot deny how good a movie Lion King is, right?
Yeah.
And I don't like Disney princess bullshit, but you can't deny the talent that went into animating Beauty and the Beast.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, that's some of the best animation ever put to film, I think.
Yeah. Despite, my feelings for a lot of those princess movies, because I grew up with the original stories behind them that that they're based on, and just like seeing that watered down.
Aren't like half of them German?
I think about 80% of them are German.
Right, and your
they're
family
all
is German.
Yes,
so
and they are all fucked up.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No, Disney completely
Neutered them.
Yeah, neutered them.
Frozen is the latest one that they took.
Oh really? Was that
Yep.
based on something?
Yep. The evil is like the evil queen or ice queen or something like that. I don't remember what the fuck it's called, but it was based on that loosely and very loosely in the fact that they shared, the main characters, and that one of them had ice powers, and that's about all they shared.
Well, I mean, that's pretty much about the same with Pocahontas. Like, I mean, yeah.
Yes, let's
the
age
Disney
Pocahontas up.
The Disney Pocahontas movie
Yeah.
has basically nothing to do with the true story.
Yeah.
But
I love hearing about why Pocahontas was made 18 in that film, because, and this is from the original animators from that, is that they found it would be creepy to audiences if Pocahontas was like 14,
Yeah.
like she should be, or whatever, or however old she should be.
they just shouldn't have brought her age up at all. But whatever.
They shouldn't have made the movie at all.
No, well, yeah. It's hard to say because there's still some good stuff in that movie, even though
There's
it
some
has
good animation.
fucking yes, it has some great animation. And that's the thing. Growing up with those movies, and I fucking love hand animation.
Oh yeah.
And so now to see what's happened to Disney, where they just have no fucking interest anymore. The last hand animated movie that they made was Princess and the Frog, Princess, whatever the fuck.
Frog Princess, I think.
Yeah. Which was good. It was decent. It wasn't amazing, but it had some of that old Disney tooth. You know what I mean? Like
The last bit of it.
yeah. Well, the villain, right?
Yeah.
If you look at a lot of Disney villains, like they're kind of fucked up, and that's
Oh, yeah.
that's what I liked about them. You know,
what's his face in Hunchback of Notre Dame?
oh my god, that guy is amazing. Like that's probably Disney's best villain, even though I don't
Secret
like the
Disney
movie.
rapist.
Yeah. Oh my god. Yeah. And Frog Princess, whatever the fuck that movie's called. That villain had a little bit of that. You could see that Disney spark a little bit in there.
Mm-hmm.
But since then, it's just been fucking CG animated movies that
garbage.
Yeah. I mean, I haven't seen most of them. I didn't even bother watching. What was the one?
Frozen.
Yeah, Frozen. I didn't even bother watching Frozen.
Yeah, I only watched that because it was 2 a.m. and it was on Netflix, and I watched it. And I'm just like, this is dumb.
I mean, like it really pisses me off. Like
Disney
owns Pixar. Let them make the CG animated movies.
Though,
you keep making hand animated movies. That's what you're good at.
Though lately with Pixar.
Well, lately, but that's a different topic. But point is, like, yeah, I hate seeing where Disney is now.
Yeah.
From where they came from.
I mean, they've always been greedy assholes.
Oh, totally. Disney
Look at
has,
any of the interviews with Walt Disney.
Disney as a company has always been a money-grubbing whore, but they at least used to make good shit. They their animated movies had real integrity to them, you know? Not so much anymore. Like, I can't think of the last Disney movie that came out where I was like, this has integrity. I mean, really. Oh, you know what? Zootopia. Zootopia was decent. It wasn't amazing.
No.
But it was decent. It was still better than most of the animated movies coming out.
But that was, it's one where there was a huge dry spell of that beforehand.
Yeah, and then There was a huge dry spell where nothing had any dignity or integrity,
Yep.
and then Zootopia comes out, and it's like, well, at least it feels like somebody gave a fuck about this one.
Yeah.
Not that it was an amazing movie. It was good. It's entertaining. It has a plot and characters, so that's different.
Yeah. And I don't know where the lawsuit on that's at.
Oh, it's in the toilet.
Is it?
Yeah, there's a
Okay.
retarded lawsuit because some asshole said that they stole it. And when you actually look at what his idea was, has nothing to do with what Disney's movie is.
Pretty much the only thing in common was anthropomorphic characters.
Yeah, not even the same anthropomorphic characters. Not even the same animals.
Nope.
I feel like people are very slowly starting to see Disney for what they actually are.
Yeah. Which is a good thing.
But yes, it's a good thing. I wish it came sooner because I'm done with superhero movies. I'm fucking done. I'm tired of superhero movies. Can we please move the fuck on?
They need to stay in comics. It's a cool idea, to talk with your friends or whatever about like, oh, that would be cool to see in the theater. But it's not actually cool when you see it in the theater.
Well, not the way they're doing it. Like, here's the thing is there used to be good superhero movies before the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Yep.
You know what I'm
Batman,
saying?
But
well, there was the Chris Nolan Batman, but
Yep.
also the Tim Burton Batman.
Yeah.
There was the
Sam Raimi Spider-Man.
Well, yes,
First two Sam Raimi
the first
Spider-Man.
two Sam Raimi Spider-Man.
First
are
three
great.
X-Men. Well, first two X-Men are amazing, and
Third one's okay.
Third one's it's okay, but it's also people like to debate whether it's actually okay or not.
Yeah, a lot of people hate it. I say it's okay. It's nothing.
Yeah.
It's nothing amazing, and it's nothing super shitty.
No.
I'll take it over the modern X-Men movies
For sure.
and there was also the original Superman movies.
Yep.
Like at least the first two.
Christopher Reeve, starring in that, right?
Yeah, Christopher Reeve. I was trying to think of the director though. And I can't remember. Doesn't
Fuck
matter.
if I know.
Anyway, the first two of those. So like good superhero movies have and not to mention the random one-offs like Watchmen.
Yep.
You had those one-off like not DC or Marvel movies that came up every now and then.
Yeah. Sin City was all right.
Yeah, Sin City.
I mean, if you could call it a superhero movie. It was
it's a comic book adaptation. It's not a superhero movie. But yeah, but the point is like good superhero movies existed. And you know what made them better than the ones now? Integrity, but they were treated as movies, not superhero movies. Right? That's the difference.
That's something interesting because Chris Nolan was actually talking about that recently. Sort of about the one thing that's different between his Batman films and the new superhero films was that they were given the luxury of time to be able to craft those into films they wanted.
Yeah.
Whereas modern superhero movies, they're expected to pump out 2 or 3 a year.
Yeah. But even beyond that, like I mean that's definitely a big part of the issue. But still, like there's nobody behind them that gives a fuck.
No.
Like, and people love to say like, oh no, this director's like a huge fan of the comic.
Yeah.
That
listen
doesn't
to this interview.
That doesn't mean he gives a fuck.
Yeah.
Right. Because when you look at Sam Raimi making Spider-Man, I don't know if he was a fan of comics or not, or a fan of Spider-Man as a character, but it doesn't matter because he just made good movies.
Yeah.
Right?
Tim Burton didn't give a shit about
No,
Batman.
Tim Burton had never read a Batman comic, and I don't think still has ever read a Batman comic.
He never read a Batman comic. He never saw the Batman TV show.
No. But he made a decent movie. Like I've never been a huge fan of the Tim Burton Batman movie. I've never seen the second one. Point is, it was still looked upon as a movie, not a superhero movie, right? They took their time. They wrote a script. They developed characters. They developed character arcs, and they had a story. Holy shit! What a fucking concept, right? Like you when you make a movie, not a fucking cash grab logo fest.
Yeah. The one director that I can think of that I've actively known that gives a shit, despite the quality of the product, is James Gunn, the director of Guardians of the Galaxy.
Right.
Like, he gives a shit. The movies just aren't good.
he gives a shit. He's just bad at giving a shit.
Pretty much. I think the only movies I've liked by him are Romeo and Juliet and Super. which was another superhero movie that he did that was sort of a
Well,
parody of them.
yeah, that was a very small sort of indie thing.
Yeah.
And it was sort of
And it had the dude from The Office in it.
yeah, it was sort of turning superhero movies on their head a
Yeah.
little bit because it was like really gritty and ridiculously realistic and awkward.
Yeah.
Which is very different from Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah.
But that's the thing, like, and to a point that we've brought up before is that
Yeah.
even if the director does give a shit, it doesn't matter because it's not directed by the director; it's directed by Disney. And so yeah, I think that's something that people need to like realize is that good superhero movies already existed. It's just they weren't being shoved in our face
Yeah.
fucking 40 times every year.
That was back when, if it wanted to be, it could be a standalone movie.
Yeah.
The sequels didn't
like,
need to
that's
happen,
the
but they
thing.
were their own thing.
It's okay to make one movie.
Yeah.
This is something else the industry has forgotten. It
Yeah.
is okay to do one movie and then move the fuck on. And let's not even get into cinematic universe. Holy shit.
I was just going to bring
Not
that up.
everything needs to be a cinematic universe. Let it go.
So did you hear about the most recent one?
Which one?
There's people are talking, and there's hints that I don't remember what the fuck the movie is, but there's a movie coming out that's supposed to be the start of the Hasbro cinematic universe.
Hasbro?
Yep.
Is it not going to be Transformers?
Not Transformers from what I know.
Whatever. It's going to fall on its face just like the Universal Monsters
Yep.
cinematic
Just like
universe.
DC is.
Yeah. Oh my god. I hate it. I hate everything. Everything needs to stop. Just everything.
Well, not everything. Good movies need to keep coming.
Good movies need to keep coming. They need to stop being pushed out of theaters by fucking more superhero movies. How many times can you watch how many times can you watch the same movie with a different name slapped on it? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. And I think the most recent one, it's sort of, I guess, the fault of postponing releases, but could have been a great movie to see in the Cine Capri would have been All the Money in the World. But because it got pushed back to after The Last Jedi released, and they still have their buyout goes until mid-January.
Yeah, which means the only way that you can see All the Money in the World is going to be in
Shoebox Theater.
Yeah, smaller theaters. Which, that's awful. God, Disney just really irritates the shit out of me. Next week, we're not going to talk about Disney.
We may promise that. We may not. If it comes
If
up.
Disney does something monumentally stupid, we'll talk about it.
Yes, but I cannot promise you that I will cut it out if we end up talking about Disney.
God damn it. All right. So let's move on to our next and final topic.
Yay.
I feel a little bit weird about doing this since this is only our second episode, but let's do an end of the year roundup.
Well, it is end of the year.
Yeah, exactly. That's why we're doing it, even though it's our
boy.
second episode. We're doing this shit.
Because fuck you.
So what I have here is the Rotten Tomatoes top 100 movies or top 100 rated movies of 2017.
Oh boy.
And now, as you are probably aware, Rotten Tomatoes isn't as arbitrary as other top movie lists would be because it's based on both critic and audience rating.
It's less personal preference.
Yeah, it's more they just sort of
they look at the numbers and they list them. They order them in
based on those numbers. Yes. So, I will start at 100 and we'll work our way up. Mostly because number 1 pissed me the fuck off.
Oh boy.
So
I'll enjoy this then.
Yeah. And I don't know your feelings about the movie that's number 1, so
we'll
see. Or if you've even seen it, come to think of it. So,
we'll find out.
We'll get there. We'll find out. So, coming in at number 100 is The Founder.
Oh.
Which, and as we go through, we'll talk a little bit about them. We're not going to go through all 100 because I don't even know all of these movies, but we'll talk about the ones that are worth talking about.
All right.
The Founder, I liked.
Yeah.
It was decent.
I thought it was a decent movie. It was very interesting to see the docudrama about McDonald's.
Yeah, you wouldn't think a movie about McDonald's would be that good.
Yeah.
You would think it would be like some corporate thing just trying to make McDonald's look amazing. But
Yeah.
no, it managed to make McDonald's look even shittier than you already thought McDonald's was.
Yep. And it had Michael Keaton in it, so
Who
I
was
guess
good.
that's a plus.
But what struck me about it is while I was watching The Founder, I was like, this has the potential to be a great movie had
Yeah.
it been directed by David Fincher.
Right.
Right? Because it's right up his alley. Like, it felt like if it had more of a Social Network kind of direction to it, it could have been fucking amazing.
Yeah.
But as it is, it's still a decent movie. Let's see. 99. Major Prime. I have no idea what that is.
What the fuck?
98. Phantom Thread. 97. Maudie? 96. Obit. I don't even
Obit.
know what. Oh, okay. So 95. Only the Brave.
All right. I saw that movie in theaters.
Yeah, I have not seen it.
It's about the Prescott, Arizona firefighters that die in a massive fire in I don't remember where it's at. I think it's Yuma.
Mm-hmm.
Somewhere way the fuck down south in Arizona. Now, for reference, we both live in Arizona.
Yeah.
I knew about this beforehand, so it was more interesting to me to see. I thought it was a really good movie. It came in the months where all that was really out was Thor, and then Justice League right after it. So it kind of got really overshadowed by those. But it was a really good movie. You know, I recommend people see it if they can.
So skipping ahead, because like I don't know a lot of these movies. Like,
So where are we at now?
well, there's a movie apparently at 98.
Yeah.
With 93% on Rotten Tomatoes is a movie called Gook. Which, I mean, I have a lot of questions about what that is, but I'll probably look it up later. But
All right.
yeah. So skipping ahead to number 82 is Detroit. Now, have you seen Detroit?
I have not.
Do you know what it is?
I do.
Okay.
Catherine Bigelow.
Yes.
Movie about the riots in Detroit. If I remember
kinda.
right.
Okay, so when you watch the trailer, it's pitched as being about basically an illegal police raid on a motel filled with black people. And of course, the 60s, so that is a volatile situation. But the first half hour of the movie is about the Detroit riots in 67, I want to say.
The civil rights riots that went on.
Somewhere in the 60s. It's a good movie despite itself. Like, it's flawlessly directed. The acting is great, but either the writer failed or the editor failed. Because there is just information that's just straight up missing from the movie.
Oh, not infodumps. They're
No,
missing.
like opposite of infodump. Where it's like, okay, well, you want to talk about infodump. The very opening of the movie is like weird children's drawings explaining the plight of black people. It was really fucking odd and out of place. It kind of felt like, and I don't know this for sure, but it felt like something that Catherine Bigelow wouldn't have put in, except that the studio made her, right? It kind of had that feel to it. But anyway, once you get past that and you actually get into the movie, the first thing that happens is there's a police raid on a bar in the middle of the night that doesn't have a liquor license, right? Now, it's a bar in Detroit, black part of town.
Yeah.
So, of course, people who live there see a bunch of white cops arresting a whole fuck ton of black people. Gonna cause some issues. Yeah. So, people from the neighborhood, start gathering around, screaming, like, what the fuck did they do? Like, I demand you tell me, and all of this. And they finally get all of the bar patrons into the paddy wagons and go away.
Paddy wagons.
Whatever. They drive away, and the neighborhood, people are like chucking rocks at them. And once they drive away, they're like, "Yeah, we accomplished something," right? Because they were leaving anyway, and it's not like they freed any of the prisoners. And so after the cops leave, they're all just left standing in the middle of the street, and they're like, "Well, I mean, since we're all here, we may as well loot this store." Because that's how it came off. They were standing in the middle of the street, high-fiving each other, and then somebody just fucking breaks into the store. Like, now, okay, here's the thing, it is a fact that these people basically just destroyed the shit out of their own neighborhood. Right?
Yeah.
So you can't question the movie and say, well, that doesn't make any sense. But what you can say is, as a movie, you need to put me in the headspace that tells me why. Because just watching the movie and watching the riots, you're like, well, these people are just stupid. Like, there's no sympathy to be had for a group of people that's like, yeah, fuck you, police. I'm gonna burn my own house down. Right? It makes no sense unless you, like, put me in their headspace and make me understand. And the movie doesn't do that. And then the movie, half an hour in, finally gets to the actual set piece of the movie, which is the motel. Yeah. And basically what happens is somebody fires a starter pistol out of a window just to fuck with the cops, and the cops show up and basically just murder everybody, right? And they keep a lot of the patrons just up against the wall and just torture the shit out of these people and scare the shit out of them for, like, all night.
Yeah.
And it's really tense. It's done really well. It's acted really well, and the tension is palpable. The problem is this one scene, and as it turns out, is basically one long scene, goes on for 45 minutes, literally. The movie's 2.5 hours.
Really?
And what they say the movie is about in the trailer is only 45 minutes of that 2.5 hours. Huh. And so it effectively becomes one 45-minute scene, and the longer it goes on, you're like, yeah, I get it. Like, this was tense. Now it's become boring because it's not progressing, right? Yeah. You're just showing me the cops fuck with them for 45 minutes. And yeah, that's fucked up, but can we have a story? And the main character that they set up two main characters. They have nothing to do for this 45 minutes. They basically just disappear into the situation. And then you get out of it and you go through the court trials of the situation. And it's like the movie, like, I usually love long movies. I'm always the one saying that this movie needs to be 3 hours long, right? This movie needed to cut like half an hour.
Yeah.
And also explain shit. So they needed to cut half an hour off of the movie, pick out some other scenes that really didn't need to be there, and replace them with some explanations of what the fuck is happening.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, you can understand the what. It's the why that's missing. Yeah. Right.
And to me, all that I can think of without seeing the movie, and actually seeing the scene, especially the looting or whatever, it just feels like they were all there and high-fiving, and somebody happened to do something illegal at that moment, and so then mob mentality kicked in.
I mean, sure, but again, you have to, as a movie, it's your job to put the audience in that headspace.
Yeah.
And they didn't. Now, like I said, Catherine Bigelow's directing was amazing, right? It's not the directing that was the problem. It was either the writing or the editing, because either the shit just wasn't written or the editor pulled it out. And I will say, the guy who played the main villain, the main dirty cop, was kind of terrifying. Like, his performance was fantastic. And I would recommend seeing this movie. Because it kind of just flew under everybody's radar. Like, I saw the trailer for it, but then nothing. It came out in, like, very select theaters, weirdly. I didn't even know when it came out or when it left or what theaters they were in. Yeah. And so when I saw it in Redbox, I was like, holy shit. Like, I wanted to see that. Like, okay, I guess I'll grab it now.
Yeah. Which is interesting because I don't know if it's going to be on here, so I might as well talk about it now. Guillermo del Toro's new movie, Shape of Water.
Yeah.
Turns out it was a limited release, and the only place here in the only place here in the
it's playing at Arizona Mills.
Before, the only place it was playing in the metro region for like the first 2 weeks it's been out was the Fashion Square Mall, and then it extended to a couple more theaters.
It's interesting.
So
I'll have to jump on that then.
Yeah, I found it fascinating.
But yeah, so go see Detroit. It's a good movie. I wouldn't call it great. Right?
All right.
It's worth seeing.
All right.
All right.
I think we've talked about this long enough.
Yeah, moving on. Well, that's what it is. It's an end of the year roundup. We're just gonna talk about some movies.
All right, let's talk about all 100 movies. Start from the top.
No, fuck that. Okay. Yeah. God. See, I just Lady Macbeth.
There was another one of those?
I guess.
Okay.
Lost City of Z. That sounds familiar, but I don't know. Okay. Here's another one. Number 69.
God damn it. Of course it is.
Number 69. A Monster Calls with 86% on Rotten Tomatoes.
All right.
Now, have you seen?
I have not.
Okay. So it's just gonna be me talking this whole fucking time.
Oh boy.
All right. So, A Monster Calls. I'm not gonna get too in depth with this one because I don't think
Yeah.
there's like a whole hell of a lot to say.
Though it is a movie I do want to see.
Yes, it's worth seeing. Now when you just look at it, it looks like it's gonna be like, oh, fucking great, they made like another Bridge to Terabithia bullshit movie. But the first thing you'll notice if you guys look on the back of the box that it's rated PG-13, not PG. And so that alone piqued my interest. And then of course it has Sigourney Weaver in it, who does like weird little. I don't know if this one was indie, but she does like weird smaller movies like this from time
Neil
to time.
Blomkamp's series on Valve's Steam platform.
Is she in that?
Yep, she's in that.
Well, oh yeah, that's right, because she was supposed to be in his Alien movie that never got made.
Alien 5. Which Ridley Scott canceled.
Yeah, fuck Ridley Scott. Anyway, look, all the money in the world looks good. He just needs to stop making sci-fi movies. Anyway,
we talked about that last week.
Did we?
Yes, we did.
Okay, we're not going to talk about it again. Anyway, A Monster Calls. So, basically, it was interesting because you go into it and you expect it to be somewhat like Bridge to Terabithia.
Yeah.
But it's not. It's, if I had to compare it to anything, it's more like The Fountain.
That's very interesting.
Yeah, in the way that it. Okay, see, I had expected it to be about a kid dealing with his mother's death.
Mm-hmm.
It's not. It's about a kid dealing with his mother's inevitable death, right? She dies at the end of the movie rather than the beginning, which that alone makes it take a different sort of approach to the subject matter.
Okay. By the way, spoilers to all of these movies that we're going to be talking about.
Yeah, if you've gotten this far, then I think you're starting to pick up that we don't give a fuck about spoilers.
Yeah.
Anyway, so it was a good movie. The monster was handled well, if not a little bit odd. Like, I do think it would have been a better movie just without the monster. Just make a drama about a kid dealing with his mother's death.
Yeah.
Just do that. Get rid of the monster. Because the thing is, the way the monster functions is he, like, shows up, tells the kid a story, and then goes away. And then shows up again and tells the kid another story, and then goes away. And then shows up again and tells the kid another story, and then goes away. And then the kid is supposed to tell him the fourth story. Right? And all of these stories have, I would say that they have morals, but they kind of don't. All of the stories are kind of specifically about moral ambiguity, like how morality is gray and how there's not always a good guy, there's not always a bad guy. Sometimes fucked up shit just happens, and sometimes the wrong person goes down for it. That's what his stories were about, and I was like, that's kind of interesting. Like, that's different. Like, I mean, I respect that. That's, but it's...
That's probably why I had the PG-13 rating.
Well, yeah. And I don't know. I liked that about it, right? But, like, you didn't need the monster. You didn't need it.
Mm-hmm.
The interesting thing was it's about a movie dealing with death, and the writer of the book died in the middle of writing it. And it was picked up by another writer who finished it, and then that writer wrote the screenplay.
All right.
So that was interesting about it. I recommend watching the movie. It, again, isn't great. It's good, though.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Battle of the Sexes.
I heard about that, and the only thing I know is I remember seeing the trailer and going, this looks like absolute garbage.
It sounds familiar, but I don't know
It's
right off.
one of those really retarded, I want to be the next Judd Apatow comedy sort of things.
Okay. So, number 66, American Made. Did you see that one?
Oh God, I don't know right off
Son
the
of a
top of my head.
bitch. Tom Cruise. He's a
Right.
pilot.
Yes. I couldn't finish that all the way through.
Okay.
I passed out during it.
What do you mean you passed out?
I was tired.
Okay, so not like you were wasted. Okay, so I saw this movie in the theaters
Mhm.
with my mom and my grandmother. So that was weird cuz yeah, it was my grandmother who
Yeah.
wanted to see it, and I said, "I don't know, I saw the trailer, it looks like it could be okay, but I wanted to see Blade Runner, right?"
Yep.
It was what's funny is after Blade Runner came out and nobody went to fucking see it. But it still got really good reviews. And my grandma was texted me and she was like, "I am so sorry. We should have seen Blade Runner." Because when we got out of American Made, my head hurt because the movie itself is okay. I wouldn't even call it good. It's just sort of okay. But the cinematography, I think, yeah, we actually talked about this with our mutual friend
Right. Yeah.
over dinner once. The cinematography, I wanted to kill somebody. It was straight up like they gave the camera to a small child and just said, point it at things. The cinematography is so fucking mind-numbingly bad. It was incredible. And the editing isn't much better.
Yeah. Didn't we find? Yeah, we found out that the cinematographer did something that actually looked decent before. I can't
Yeah,
remember
I
what it
don't
was.
remember what it was, but he did something that looked better than this. So you look at this and you're like, "What the fuck happened?" And it looked like they shot it on Arri Alexas,
Mhm.
but it looks like they didn't shoot it raw. Like it looks like they shot it compressed. So like all you have all the highlights are blown out. There's no information in the shadows, and the whole thing just looks really flat. And then it was like to combat it, they did what every film student does, and they just jacked up the saturation. And so it looks like a nightmare. I mean, the movie looks fucking awful, and it flows really badly. So that's why it's weird for me to say the movie was still kind of okay, right? When
Yeah.
you get past that shit, Tom Cruise was good in it. The story itself is interesting. It wasn't told in the best way, but the story was interesting. It's just when you get past those massive flaws, the movie is still okay underneath. It's the prime example of a movie being okay despite itself.
Yeah.
All right.
I remember when you were talking about that, you mentioned it was like the cinematographer was fighting the director or something like that.
Yeah, I think I said something like nobody could decide what they wanted to do. So like the camera is just fucking all over the place. There was a moment where a car goes into a ditch and this movie is filled with like terrible snap zooms, like trying to look like a documentary style snap zooms.
Yeah.
And the camera's in the backseat of the car and it snap zooms into the rearview mirror so that we can look at Tom Cruise's forehead. Why? Why do I need to see Tom Cruise's forehead? Like, if his eyes were in the mirror, I would understand that. But no, you're just looking at his forehead. Like, fucking why? You couldn't retake that shit if Tom Cruise didn't hit his mark or something? Why am I looking at his forehead?
Yeah, I was gonna say that sounds like he was supposed to look into the
Look in the
rearview
mirror, but didn't, and they were just
Yeah.
like, it's good enough.
They ran out of money.
Yeah. They ran out of film that they didn't use.
Yeah.
All right. Moving on. It Comes at Night. Is that a movie that you know?
Comes at Night.
God damn.
It sounds familiar.
Yeah. All right. Well, since neither of us have seen it, let's moving on now to number 60.
Oh boy.
I'm going to let you talk about this. Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2.
It was awful. And not just sequel awful, and not just Marvel awful. It literally did not have a plot and shit happened awful.
So just like random things happened and that's the movie.
Pretty much. It starts off with a young what's his name? Kurt Russell. A young Kurt Kurt Russell on Earth back in the 80s before Chris Pratt's character. So you get to find out that like that's his dad or whatever. And then it jumps ahead to present day, and it's pretty much them fighting giant CG vomit creature. And they steal some batteries.
We should
some
explain
space
real
batteries.
quick what CG vomit means.
It means really unnecessary, large and ugly CG.
Yeah, just filling the screen
Filling
with
the
CG,
screen.
basically.
Yep. Which, I mean, is all Marvel movies.
Yeah, exactly.
But they steal some batteries. They get in trouble for stealing the batteries and are going to be executed for it.
For stealing batteries?
For stealing space batteries.
I assume this was played as like it's supposed to be funny.
Yeah. It was played as the little raccoon dude's being an asshole.
Okay,
and he's
well,
supposed to
okay.
learn at the end that he's not supposed to be an asshole or something
Okay,
like
but
that.
here's my question. Like,
Yeah.
when you say batteries, did the movie take it seriously? Like, oh, this was a bad thing that the characters did? Or was it literally like they stole batteries and now these other characters are overreacting and it's supposed to be funny?
The film couldn't decide. Sometimes it was taken seriously, sometimes it wasn't.
Okay.
Because it would go from we literally need these batteries to power the shield to keep out these creatures like the one you just fought, and then it would literally cut to the characters going, "Ha ha! I stole batteries." And then,
God damn it.
Yeah, then old Kurt Russell or present day Kurt Russell shows up and saves them. Kurt Russell turns out to be evil, and then he turns into a planet. And then he dies. The end.
A planet?
Yes.
What is it? The end of Doctor Strange?
Might as well be. So basically, he dies at the end, and then Michael Rooker's character dies. Then that's it.
Okay, so here's my question.
Yes. There was some stuff in the middle, but it didn't matter.
Is the movie just as pandering as the first one when it comes to the music?
It's even worse.
It's worse. Okay.
Oh,
That's kind of what I assumed. Now, to be clear, I love all of the music in the first movie.
Yep.
But I loved it before I saw the movie. And that's not like a hipster thing. That's saying like it's so frustrating. Like the movie is so bad that they had to get better, that they had to put better art into their movie in order for people to be like, "Oh my god, the soundtrack is amazing."
And that's something I've noticed that a lot of Hollywood movies are doing that now.
Yeah, they're starting to do it. Where they're starting to like bust out the golden oldies.
Yep.
Just to get people to love the movie based on the soundtrack rather than the movie.
The only movie that I can think that actually, did that well is Deadpool, because it was just a complete joke.
Sure, yeah.
And it fit right in.
I mean, there are movies that do it well, but the movies that do it well tend to be more of a necessity. Like you look at Almost Famous, like they use that music to build an atmosphere.
Yep.
In Guardians of the Galaxy, it was there for literally no reason.
Yeah.
Oh, his mom made him a mixtape. Okay.
Yep. The movie Heavy Metal did it well.
Sure. Well, the movie's fucking called Heavy Metal.
And it's based on Heavy Metal magazine, which was about heavy metal music.
Yeah, exactly.
So there you go, necessity.
But the way Guardians of the Galaxy uses it is incredibly pandering and completely pointless. Like the music adds nothing to the movie except that the music is better than the movie.
Oh yeah, I forgot the best part about the movie.
Guardians 2?
Yes.
Okay.
At the end, Chris Pratt's character, has a present from his mom before she died, and he opens it, and it's a second cassette.
Oh, god damn it.
Yep. It was the second cassette full of music.
I hope it's like hardcore gangster rap.
Yeah, from the 80s.
Yeah, exactly.
From the early 80s.
Exactly. Okay, so...
She throws it on and NWA comes blasting out of
Yeah,
it.
exactly. Fuck the police. All right, so coming in at number 57 is a movie that I believe we've both seen.
Oh, boy.
It.
Right.
It comes in at number 57 with an 85% rating.
I like that movie.
So do I.
It's the one thing I'd have to say is it's much different from the miniseries.
Oh, 100%. But I think that was the point.
Yeah. I don't think necessarily it should have been a straight horror movie like it was.
How come? Explain. What else would it be?
Because the book, I don't know. This is just personal preference. From the book to the screen, it as a story wasn't meant to be a horror story. It was just supposed. It was Stephen King saying, "I want to do monster book, kids and monsters, ooh," and he's like, "Okay, I'm just gonna throw in as many monsters as I can."
Well, sure. That was the thing where the
yeah.
miniseries it is always Pennywise. Pennywise is the clown specifically
Until he's a spider at the end.
until he's a weird space spider at the end. This one I thought was gonna change it up.
Yeah.
Because I had heard he turns into a bunch of other shit. He's not just always the clown,
Yeah,
which is
he
true.
did, yeah. But
He's
the
mostly the clown again. He's mostly just Pennywise throughout the whole thing.
Yeah.
And I this Pennywise was hard for me because I was like, I don't know. It feels weird. Oh, I forget do you remember the guy's name who played Pennywise?
In the new one?
Yeah.
It's Bill Skarsgård or something like that.
Skarsgård. Yeah. I was like, I want to see him play the Joker.
Yeah.
Like, that's all I could think through the whole movie is I want to see him play the Joker because his version of Pennywise, for the most part, would be a great Joker.
Oh, yeah.
Not necessarily the greatest Pennywise. So, as Pennywise, he was okay.
Yeah.
But I would love to see him do something else. Like, if they could, even just have him voice the Joker.
Yeah.
That'd be awesome. I would love to see that. The rest of the movie, I really enjoyed the tone for the most part.
Yeah.
It was still loaded down with horror movie jump scare bullshit.
My god, there was so much jump scare.
The horror in the movie was lazy as fuck, but the rest of the movie actually worked really well.
Yeah.
The stuff where it's just the kids,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? All of that stuff worked great. Even though you didn't really get to know the kids individually all that well, I think the movie should have been longer. Again, that's just me. I think every movie should be longer, except the ones that shouldn't. But overall, it reminded me more of Stand By Me.
Yeah.
A little bit, which is good. I think that's what the tone of the movie should be for the most part until you see Pennywise. And then I think the horror, when you see Pennywise, should be done better.
Yes. And that brings me to how Pennywise is shown. And you'll hear me a lot talk about from book to movie.
Yeah.
Because I always compare how was it in the original, how'd they do it here. Not only do I compare it against that, I compare it against itself. So it's not like, oh, the book's always going to be better.
Right. See, okay, this is something we're just going to talk about this really quick.
Yeah.
This is something that drives me fucking crazy. Like, okay, the way you compare a movie to the book is fine, but you always get those people who are like, well, this in the book and that in the book, and that's all they care about is like what the book did, and they don't actually look at the merits of the movie itself. Because there are some movies like The Shining, right? You can't compare that to the book. It's nothing like the book, but that doesn't make it a bad movie. It's a great movie.
Yeah.
You just can't compare it to the book. You always have to keep that kind of shit in mind, and that's why I always look at the movie for what it is, regardless of the source material.
Hey, god damn it, the translation of it is garbage because we don't have the child orgy scene at the end
right,
of it.
This movie really needed the fucking bizarre child orgy.
The book didn't even need that.
No, it didn't. Anyway, go ahead.
Stephen King still defends it.
Yeah, anyway, go ahead.
From the book to the movie, this adaptation...
Keeping in mind, of course, this is only one part of the book.
Yes.
They're going to make others.
Yes, they are going to make when they're older.
Yeah.
As the second part.
Yep. I hope they stop there. This doesn't
I
need
would
to be
hope.
a trilogy.
No.
Just stop after the second one.
No, but Pennywise, for a horror villain, he was all right in the movie as, being a straight horror character because that's what they were going for in the movie.
Even though I did like it, it felt like it was lacking in fun. And that's what you get from Tim Curry. Tim Curry is enjoying the shit out of himself in the miniseries.
Yeah. He didn't give a fuck.
And that's what was great about it. That's why his performance is amazing to this day because he just looks like he's having so much fucking fun. And that I really feel like this movie was missing that.
Yeah.
The movie did some cool stuff with Pennywise. I liked the opening when you see what's his name?
Georgie.
Georgie. when you see him like rip Georgie's arm off,
Yeah.
I was like, holy shit! Like the movie pushed the envelope anymore. You don't see violence against children in movies anymore,
Yeah.
like ever. And so it was good to see like a movie that kind of harkened back to 80s movies
Yeah.
where it was okay for child characters to go through fucked up things. But you know what I mean? Or it's like you look at 80s movies, especially Stephen King adaptations, like he's just like murdering the shit out of children in those
Stephen King's
movies.
obsessed with killing children in his books.
And somewhere along the line, it apparently became not okay to tell those kinds of stories with children anymore. And so it was nice to see, sort of the kid gang back together again, where it's like they're all on bikes and they're riding around the neighborhood and they're trying to, fight a monster, and it was great. Like I miss that feeling, like an R-rated fucking E.T. You know what I'm saying?
That's Alien.
But it was good to see that again, and kids who are just like cursing their asses off, like kids actually talk. By the way, like let's not pretend that's not true. We all love dropping the F-bomb when we were kids. When you're comparing book to screen when it comes to it, something that people need to keep in mind is the book is pretty much unfilmable.
Yeah, it's 11,000 pages long.
Well, not even just its length. It's 1,100 pages of digressions and flashbacks, and everything's told
in flashbacks,
and it's told completely out of, like, it has no structure whatsoever.
No, it's pretty much we get one scene with them as children, one scene with them as adults.
Yeah,
and it
just goes back and forth, and the book is all over the place. So again, it would be hard to compare any film version of it to the book, just because of how fucking just unstructured the book is.
I mean, unless they made it into a TV series and literally used the book as the script.
Oh my god. That would be awful, though.
I would watch that, though.
Would you? It would be a nightmare to watch. That would be awful to watch. It just bouncing all over the place in time like that.
That would be hilarious.
Oh my god. Okay, so number 56. I haven't seen it. I don't know if you have, but I have seen the first one. John Wick 2.
I have seen the second one.
Okay.
First of all, what are your thoughts on the first one?
I hated it.
All right.
Should I elaborate on that?
Probably, because otherwise everybody's going to hate you.
Okay. I don't understand the popularity of John Wick. I think it's a pretty dumbed down, lame version of that story.
Yeah.
Now, and when I say that story, I don't mean the John Wick story. I mean that kind of story. Like, we have much better versions of that story. You know what I'm saying? Just look at The Man from Nowhere. That movie is one of the best of its kind, right? And then, and especially like in the sort of Asian region, whether it's Japan or Korea, they have a lot of those movies where special kung fu man, goes after big mob boss person and kicks their ass.
Or
like,
you have mob bosses going after mob bosses.
Yeah, and I mean there are fucking tons of those movies, and I feel like John Wick is just and I don't want to say Americanized because the U.S. has those movies too, and we have some good ones also. But I feel like John Wick is a culmination of all of those movies ever made, and you just pluck out the most standard, generic story elements to tell a version of that story with wider appeal.
Yeah.
Right? That's all it is it's just those stories smashed together with the weirdness and the grit stripped away from it, and you just make it more appealing to, like I said, a wide audience.
Yeah. And even with that, I think the action was even done better in The Raid.
Oh, for sure. The action in John Wick sucks. Like, when I actually decided to watch John Wick, it was because of that one shot that everybody talks about when he's in a club, I think it is.
Yeah.
And basically the camera's just following him around as he's like killing people, and he shoots a guy twice and then stops to reload in the middle and then shoots him again or whatever, and it's like all one take. And I saw that and I was like, you know what? That seems pretty good. Like, I'm a sucker for a one take.
Yeah.
And so when I popped in the movie and it got to that scene, in context, I was like, you know what? Not actually that good. Not a very good scene.
Right.
And the movie overall, I was just like, literally straight up, he's killing an entire fucking mafia organization because somebody shot his puppy.
Yep.
Like, fucking really? Really?
And that was supposed to be sort of like, I guess, the draw to his character. Or
Because
it was like
well,
the big thing. It's like this puppy meant so much to him, so
right,
he's gonna go murder people.
like because you would expect like, oh, one of them killed his wife, and so
Yeah.
now he goes crazy. But no, it was a puppy that his dead wife gave him, and then somebody killed that because that makes it so different and
Yeah.
not at all the same generic story we've seen a fucking 100 times
Right.
told worse.
Yeah.
Right.
And now John Wick 2, from what I can remember, because it's been so fucking long since I've seen it, because I've never wanted to revisit it.
When did it come out? Did it come out sort of more towards the beginning of the
It
year?
was like February or something.
Okay.
From what I can remember, after he murders the Russian mob, essentially, he somehow ends up in Rome. I guess he got like burned or something by his agency. And he's trying to clear his name. He ends up in Rome.
That's the other thing.
Yeah.
The agency, with air quotes, seems so ham-fisted. It seemed like just something that they could give the audience for the audience to go, wow, that's cool. They did world building. No,
Yeah.
they didn't.
No.
They said he's part of an agency and that's the extent of the world building.
Pretty much.
But everybody loves it. Like I keep hearing people go, oh, I hope they do a movie about the agency, or I hope they explore the John Wick universe more. There is no universe. They literally just said he's part of an agency that kills people, and the hotel is a safe zone.
Yeah.
That's the extent of the John Wick universe.
That
Anyway,
they
sorry.
use gold coins.
Yes, and they use gold coins. Anyway, sorry. Continue.
I don't remember the reason why he was doing all of this, because at the end of it, it was like, you're now off the registries and anybody can take a hit out on you or whatever. Good luck. And then he literally jogs with that dog he got in the first one at the end.
Yeah.
He jogs off into the sunset with that.
And
That's the end of the movie. And it's just like, I think that was worse in some ways than the Marvel movies. Because it was like...
Yeah. Even if you just watch the first John Wick, you're like, it's following the Marvel formula.
Yeah. The second one, it had the problem of... It had the sequel problem.
Where they didn't know what to do. It was just a cash grab.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
They had a sequel problem, but it was a cash grab. But, the people involved, mostly Keanu Reeves, actually cared. So it felt really disjointed in, is this a cash grab? Or is this just something where it's just sort of there?
Right, like the people who cared didn't manage to put it on the screen.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I'll say after seeing the first one, I had no interest in seeing the second one, and I'll probably never.
And there's
see
a
it
third one coming out.
Yeah, no.
Trust me, you're better off just stopping at the first one.
Just go watch The Man from Nowhere. Go
watch The Man from Nowhere.
Go watch The Man from Nowhere, and then with a straight face, tell me John Wick is a good movie.
Yeah.
All right. So number 42.
Oh boy, jumping down the list.
Yep. The Red Turtle, which I have not seen. So I don't have a whole lot to say about it, but I saw the trailer for it, and it looks kind of beautiful. It's animated.
All right.
So I just wanted to mention that it is number 42 with a 94% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Not bad.
Animated film, Japanese, I believe.
Yeah.
So I will be checking that out soon. Okay, so jumping up the list now, because there's literally nothing in between these two that I recognize, we're going to go to number 27, which is Blade Runner 2049. So Blade Runner 2049. Now, I'm going to say right now, this is one of the reasons that I wanted to read this list, because this pisses me off.
All right.
Why is Blade Runner number 27?
That is a good question.
Blade Runner is one of the best movies to have come out this year.
Yep.
Arguably the best. Arguably. And so I thought we could talk a little bit about Blade Runner, not just what it's about,
Mm-hmm.
but also why the fuck nobody went to see it. I think we touched on this last week too.
A little bit.
So I don't want to get too much into it and turn it into a bitch fest again, but yeah, so Blade Runner 2049 was a great movie. I like it better than the original Blade Runner. And when I heard it was coming out, when I heard it was being directed by Denis Villeneuve, I was like, okay, we may actually have like a big budget studio film with a cult audience
Mm-hmm.
that's going to be good, right? And I was right. That's exactly what it was. The problem was the cult audience was nowhere to fucking be seen. Nobody went to see the goddamn movie. And it pisses me the fuck off to no end. Everybody just went to see whatever Marvel movie was out at the same time Blade Runner was
I
out.
think that was Justice League, maybe? Or
Well,
was that just
that
before
would have been
Thor?
DC. No, Blade Runner came out long
Okay.
before Thor. Oh my god, fucking cat. Get off the table. Yeah, I don't remember what movie was out competing against it, but everybody just flocked to whichever
movie.
Disney movie it was. You know
Yeah.
it was a Disney movie.
Of course.
And people just ignored this one. And that is really sad and depressing to me because everybody who saw it loved it.
Oh, yeah.
It's just nobody saw it. Which makes me feel like, one, we're not going to get another Blade Runner, which
Might be
not
a good
not
thing.
necessarily a bad thing because, like we've said before, like sequel after sequel after sequel is not a good thing.
Yeah.
And to be fair, had you told me that there was going to be a sequel to Blade Runner and it was just being directed by some dude, I would have been like, why the fuck does Blade Runner need a sequel? But because it was directed by Denis Villeneuve, I gave it a chance.
Yeah.
And I'm glad I did because it's a great movie. Yeah, do you think that's what it was? People were just like, why the fuck is there a sequel to Blade Runner? And then just didn't go see it?
From what I know, everybody that knew of the movie was like, holy shit, this looks really good. And then for whatever reason, never went to saw it.
Never went to saw it?
Never went to see it. And so only, a few people saw it and, loved it. But from what I saw, most people didn't even know it existed.
Like, yeah, just, I don't know. I don't know what happened. I had to fight tooth and nail to get my boyfriend to see Blade Runner.
Yeah.
He went out to the movies with his friends, and I was like, oh, what are you seeing? He's like, Kingsman 2. And I'm like, motherfucker, why? Go watch Blade Runner, please. And I finally got him to see it, like, right before it was leaving theaters.
Nice.
And he liked it a lot. We had a great conversation about it. And that's the thing is, like, everybody who sees it always loves it and has a lot to say about it.
Mm.
But again, nobody went to see it. You stupid motherfuckers. I swear to God. Blade Runner is great, or Blade Runner 2049 is great. Please go watch it.
Yes.
If you didn't see it in theaters,
For fuck's
buy
sake.
that shit on Blu-ray and watch it.
Yes. Give them your money.
Yes, please. Don't incentivize studios not to make more movies like this.
Exactly. Especially for how much they spent on practical effects. in that
Yes.
movie.
Oh my God. Like, yeah, most of the movie's practical effects, even like
Yep.
the huge cityscape and everything, it was all miniatures and yeah, like
And by not buying that movie or having seen that movie in theaters,
you're telling the studios that you don't want movies that give that much of a shit,
Yeah.
right? You're telling the studio, or basically how the studio sees it is, oh, the audience doesn't want practical effects,
and it cost us a lot of money.
and it costs a lot of money, and it's dangerous.
Yep.
The audience clearly doesn't want slow burn sci-fi films.
Yep.
The audience clearly doesn't like this dark tone.
Yep.
That's what the studio is seeing or is getting from you not seeing the movie,
Yep.
right? If they don't see any money from that movie, they're not going to take a risk. And I'm not even talking about like another sequel to Blade Runner. I'm talking any other movie, even remotely like Blade Runner, the studio is going to look at as a risk now because Blade Runner 2049 didn't make money.
Yeah. It has officially flopped
Yeah.
as a film.
It did,
financially.
and that's really depressing to me. Number 23 with 92% on Rotten Tomatoes.
boy.
Another one that you're gonna have to tell me about is Disaster Artist.
All right, disaster artists.
Well, okay, should we talk about The Room briefly?
Yes, we should.
Okay. So, The Room
Yep.
is not on this list.
No, because it came out in 2003.
It's not on this list for other reasons as well, namely that it is widely considered one of the worst movies ever made, which is not true.
No.
The movie is awful. Like, it is fucking mind-bogglingly bad. I'm not trying to say otherwise.
Yeah.
It's not a good movie in any way. It fucking sucks. But there are worse movies.
Oh yeah, by far.
There are way worse movies. Go watch Troll 2 and tell me that's not worse than The Room. I swear to God. But no, The Room is legendarily awful. It's hilariously bad, and it is a cult favorite because of that. People love that movie because of how bad it is.
Yeah, it's one of the best, worst movies of all time.
Yeah. And Tommy Wiseau is a legend.
Try saying that with a straight
He's a
face.
living meme. And people love him because he gives no fucks and he's just a crazy asshole.
Yeah.
And so he made this movie. He directed it, starred in it, wrote it, produced it himself, edited it.
Yeah, I believe he edited it.
And so he made this movie all himself with one of his friends who played his friend in the movie.
Yep.
And it has since become one of the most famous bad movies ever.
Yep.
Now, The Disaster Artist comes along and basically tells the story behind the scenes.
Yeah, it's a book.
Well,
For those
The
who
Disaster Artist was a book written by what's his name?
Greg Sestero.
Who played his friend in the movie.
Yep.
And so now this movie is made based on it. It is not a documentary. It is a narrative.
Written written. It's directed and stars James Franco.
James Franco, yeah, who plays Tommy Wiseau.
Yep. His brother plays Greg Sestero.
Yeah, which is weird given the sort of oddly like homoerotic relationship between those two characters.
Yeah.
But so anyway, why don't you tell me about The Disaster Artist?
So, The Disaster Artist, it's essentially a docudrama about the making of The Room. If you want to go with that, it's based on the book.
Well, I would say it's more a dramedy.
Yeah,
Like,
dramedy,
there's a lot of comedy.
Oh, yeah, there is. But essentially tells the story of how Greg met Tommy and how Tommy coaxed Greg Sestero into moving out of his parents' house into an apartment with him in LA. They get rejected by every studio in Hollywood, and they finally decide, fuck it, let's make our own movie.
Yeah, pretty much. And it's about the clusterfuck of a production.
Yep.
And all the the crazy batshit things that Tommy Wiseau demanded of everybody.
Yeah. Well, the movie didn't focus so much on that. It was a big part of it, but it was mostly about the...
I haven't seen it,
Yeah.
but I do know that the
Yeah.
movie cuts out a lot of Tommy Wiseau's more fucked up moments.
Yeah. It's more about his, I would even say, abusive relationship with Greg, where they were best buddies. Then Greg gets to Hollywood and he has like a small part in something, and he starts meeting people and he gets a girlfriend.
Yeah.
And Tommy starts feeling really jealous of him.
Yeah, well, the movie is primarily about the relationship between those two, right?
Yeah.
Not necessarily entirely the making of the movie or Tommy Wiseau's sort of treatment of the cast and crew. It was about the relationship.
Yeah, and so it sort of goes through the first few days of production, then it jumps to somewhere in the middle of production. Like, I think the whole shoot was supposed to take like 40 days or something like that.
Yeah, and it went like a lot longer, right?
Yeah. And so it jumped from, the first few days of production to the middle of production to the end of production and then to the premiere of the film.
Now, again, having not seen it, I've heard some mixed reviews.
All right.
Some people saying that it is it's not entirely accurate, that the relationship between Tommy and Greg,
Yep.
okay, they weren't really so much friends as the movie would have you believe.
I don't know off the top of my head because I haven't really read into their, what they were like in real life.
Okay.
But I would hazard a guess that that's probably true.
And I've also heard reviews of people basically saying that the movie doesn't really have much focus and it doesn't really know what tone it wants to take on.
Tone-wise, it does sort of jump between being serious and being lighthearted. Even in the same scene, sometimes it can't decide because it'll go from Tommy doing something fucked up to trying to get you to laugh about it.
And I've also heard that while James Franco's performance is good,
Mm-hmm.
it kind of comes off as like James Franco just wanted to play Tommy Wiseau, because that's the end of the movie, and that's one of the trailers that they put out was the side by side comparison that they do, and it's like that's cool and all, but I'm not really interested in how well you can recreate a movie that already exists. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And let's be honest, even if his performance is great, James Franco looks like James Franco in a wig.
Yeah.
It looks like they literally just slapped a black wig on James Franco.
Yeah, that when I first saw the trailer for that, it was telling me, "Oh, it's about The Room," and then I saw James Franco in a wig, and I'm like, "Who's this character? I don't remember him in The Room." And then it's like, "Oh, he's supposed to be Tommy Wiseau."
And from what I've seen in the trailer, like his performance is good. Like the voice is like spot on.
Yeah, he nailed Tommy Wiseau's voice.
Yeah, and I do want to see it. I really do. But I don't know how well I'm gonna like it, given some things that I've heard. But you enjoyed it, right?
I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it very much.
Coming in at number 21 with a 91% on Rotten Tomatoes. I haven't seen it, and I don't know if you've seen it, but Lego Batman.
I have not seen it.
Okay. No thoughts on it, like from the trailer or anything?
From the trailers, it looks stupid. Honestly, it looks like just a generic children's movie.
I know everybody loved the first Lego movie. I didn't even see it. I gave literally no fucks.
I saw it. It was generic. It was boring. And I don't understand why it got the Batman sequel, because Batman was... In the original Lego movie, Batman was the most grating, intrusive character there was, and I fucking hated him.
In the original
In
Lego
the original
movie.
one. And he just looks like he's amped up the stupid in this one.
Okay, so
All right.
number 20 with 93%. Tell me about The Shape of Water.
I have not seen it.
Oh, you haven't? I thought you did.
No, I was just I was saying
I thought
that,
we had talked about it earlier. Okay. My bad. I want to see it.
Yeah, we talked about its theater, its weird theater release.
Yeah, no, I thought we talked about it before, but whatever.
Oh.
I want to see it. Directed by
Guillermo del Toro.
I almost said Antonio Banderas.
That would be a movie I would
Directed
watch.
by Antonio Banderas. No, Guillermo del Toro. I have a not so great history with his movies. I can't think of a single one that I actually like. Everybody loves Pan's Labyrinth. I watched it and I was just sort of more frustrated than anything else, where it's like it feels like all this shit just goes nowhere. I was way more interested in the war aspect of it than I was the fucking weird fantasy shit. The fantasy shit looked cool. Don't get me wrong. Like the guy with the hand eyes was freaking a really cool visual, but none of that stuff played into the story in any meaningful way. And then don't even get me started on the ending.
Yeah.
So
it's basically she dies, but she was right all along the end.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Pretty much. And so I don't like Pan's Labyrinth.
Did you ever watch Hellboy?
No, I never was drawn to Hellblade.
Hellblade.
Hellboy.
Hellblade's a good game.
Hellblade. No, I was never really drawn to Hellboy.
It's pretty mediocre.
I was thinking about Blade because he did Blade 2 also.
Right, he did.
Yeah. Which I did see and was not particularly impressed.
Yeah. Despite everybody hyping it up.
Yeah. Pacific Rim is shit. It's garbage. It has it has like a few interesting tidbits in it that you don't usually see in big studio films. I'll give it that. But overall, it's just more big monsters fighting big monsters. I mean, how many more times can we see that and just accept it without a story behind it? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Whereas like if you want to make a kaiju movie, fighting big ass mechs that people are controlling, fine.
Yeah.
But you can't just rely on that and be like, oh, people are going to see it because it's big CG bullshit, and people like big CG bullshit. Except our big CG bullshit is like all neon, so it looks cool.
And I think that movie, for me, reinforces why I think really only the Japanese have been able to do kaiju movies and mech movies, anime movies, whatever, well.
See, I don't like the whole kaiju thing.
Yeah.
But here's the thing: is it's a very cultural thing, right?
Yeah.
That kind of shit's big in Japan, and so it's not something that can really just be Americanized.
Yeah.
Right. If you Americanize it,
98 Godzilla, 2014 Godzilla.
That's a whole other conversation. I would argue that that's not a kaiju movie.
But again, different conversation.
Whole other conversation. If you Americanize it, you Americanize it.
Yeah.
You strip out what makes it a popular genre in Japan, because that shit wouldn't fly here, right?
Yeah.
It's two different cultures that enjoy two different kinds of stories. So when you try to port it over, you need to commit, right? You can't do this weird half and half where it's like we're trying to be sort of Japan-y, but we're trying to make it American-y.
Yeah.
And
I was gonna bring that up, that Pacific Rim really felt like, we understand that if we lose that, we're losing the impact with it, but because it's an American movie, it's got to have the American audiences, so they weirdly tried to smash the two together and make them.
Yeah, and it's like you need to commit to one or the other, you know. And then, God damn it, what was the other fucking one about?
Crimson Peak?
Yeah, Crimson Peak was just... No,
that was garbage.
That was crap. It was a lame attempt to do a gothic horror. So, I am not a fan of Del Toro, if you have not noticed.
By a rant.
But Shape of Water looks like it could be good.
Yeah.
But I'm holding back my expectations.
Yeah.
Weirdly, The Shape of Water looks weirdly French to me.
It does.
Like it while I was watching the trailer, I kept being reminded of Amelie. Cuz it's got a very similar sort of green tinge to the whole movie.
Yeah.
And the weird romance, you have a main character who's deaf who falls in love with a fish man. Like, that sounds very French to me. You know what I mean? So I have hope. I'm hoping that Del Toro manages to make a movie that I actually like for once.
Yeah. Though
I never hope a movie is bad,
I do have my reservations, cuz you mentioned it looks French.
Yeah.
Well, he tried doing, the Mexican films with like Kronos and Backbone.
That's true, yeah.
He then tried to do the Spanish films with Pan's Labyrinth.
Yep.
He tried to do the American films with Hellboy, and he tried to do the Japanese films with Pacific Rim.
Yeah, he is sort of all over the place, isn't he?
Yeah.
So, I don't know. Maybe this will be the one that lands.
Maybe. We'll have to see. We'll update you when it does, I guess.
So, number 12 with a 92% is Spider-Man Homecoming.
Oh, boy.
You saw it, right?
Yeah, I saw it.
I don't want to get too much into it because we're just going to end up bitching about Marvel movies again. But what I will say is it had some elements that I felt should have raised it above Marvel movies a little bit. And that's why it was frustrating, because in the end it was just another Marvel movie. Because there was some cool shit in there. Like I liked the suit. You know what I mean? I don't like that the suit exists, but given that it does, I liked it. I liked the voice. But the fact that Tony Stark made his suit is just retarded to me.
And that Tony Stark was basically a crutch through the entire film.
Yeah. Well, okay. So here's what I'm going to say, because this is a really good movie to discuss this problem with Marvel films.
Yeah.
You do realize that Marvel has turned every superhero into the same superhero.
Oh, yeah.
And Iron Man and Spider-Man in Spider-Man Homecoming is the perfect example. Is that, what the fuck are Peter Parker's powers? without the suit. He's super strong.
Yep.
He's
He has super
indestructible.
reflexes, I guess.
Well, he's super strong and he's indestructible. I mean, he doesn't really have super reflexes because he doesn't have the Spidey sense that's built into the suit.
No, that's right, because
So-
they show that it starts because the new Avengers film, that's where they're showing he gets the spider sense.
So, in Spider-Man Homecoming,
Yeah.
Peter Parker's powers are that he's super strong and that he's indestructible.
Yeah.
Right? How is that Spider-Man? Like, okay.
Well, I
Like,
guess
I mean-
he can. No, wait. Was it the suit that allowed him to climb buildings? In
Yes,
this one?
it was the suit that made him stick
Fuck.
to walls. It was the suit that gave him the spider webs.
Then-
It was the suit that gave him the Spidey sense.
So what's the point of being
What the
bitten by a
Fuck
spider?
is the point of being Spider-Man if it's all based on a suit that Tony Stark made? Tony Stark could be Spider-Man. Like, and not to mention the problem of, like, Tony Stark building all of that shit into fabric. Like,
Oh,
can
yeah.
we please stop with the Marvel technology? It's gotten out of hand. Like, it's become just magic, literally.
Yeah.
Like, everything Tony Stark builds now is literally magic at this point.
Yeah.
I
mean, that's something. That's why Sam Raimi's was so different as a superhero and infinitely better to separate him from the rest. He gets the innate ability to climb on walls and shoot webs out of his arms and stuff like that.
Yeah, and it was great watching him like fail and learn.
Yeah.
All that stuff was really fun. And this movie has a little bit of that, like when he activates the suit's full potential or whatever the fuck, and
Yeah.
he
gets trapped in the facility.
See, okay, yes. When he gets trapped in the facility, I was like, this is the best scene in the movie, and then it just ends in like 5 minutes.
Yep.
Where it's like, really? You couldn't even fucking pause the goddamn movie for 10 minutes to have like this character scene between Spider-Man and the suit, where Parker starts realizing some of his flaws, some of the shit that he's doing wrong.
Yeah.
Nah, just moving on. Also, this top secret high, high security facility, and there's not one guard in this fucking place. He's just all alone, and then
Right.
he has no trouble leaving either. Like, I could talk and I have talked for
Yeah.
2 hours about why this movie is so fucking irritating.
Yeah.
And the reason it irritates me more than other Marvel movies is because it has those little moments where I'm like, I can see something more trying to happen in this movie. It just
Unlike
never.
Guardians of the Galaxy 2.
Yeah, it just never gets there, and that's really frustrating. You turn Spider-Man into another fucking generic run-of-the-mill superhero like
Yeah.
you've done to all the others.
Oh, he's basically Captain America. I mean,
Yeah.
that is literally his power set. It's
Yeah,
Captain
if
America's.
you take the suit away, he's Captain America. Yeah. You're right. All right, so number 11 is War for the Planet of the Apes.
Oh boy,
Have you seen it?
I have not seen it yet.
Okay. Have you seen the previous two?
Yes.
Okay. War for the Planet of the Apes is good. But the second one is definitely the best one.
Yeah.
The second one stands way above as like there's some really good character shit going on in that movie and some really good politics going on. Now, at the end of the second one, it still devolves into like we have to have an action scene to close the movie out. No, you don't. Anyway,
That's another conversation.
the third one is better than the first one,
Yeah.
but not as good as the second one. Oh fuck, what's his name?
Still no James Franco though.
Yeah, no, still no James Franco.
I think they just explained him off as he died.
No, yeah, you're left to just assume that he died to the virus.
Yeah.
In the second one. So in the third one, the villain is played by what's his name? Shit. He was in.
Is that Woody Harrelson?
Yeah,
you're talking
Woody
about?
Harrelson. Thank you.
All right.
The villain's played by Woody Harrelson, and he's decent.
Yeah.
He's not great.
All right.
He's good enough. His character doesn't really seem to have much purpose. He's basically like a white supremacist, but he's racist against monkeys.
He's speciesist.
Yeah, well, I guess he would be a human supremacist.
A human supremacist.
So I mean, you got that, which is, I mean, okay, I guess, I don't know. I felt like it was a weird direction for the story to go, where it's like this was not what was interesting about the second movie, right? I feel like what the filmmakers thought they were doing was they were taking the premise of the second movie and the tension between the humans and the apes, and they were taking it to its logical conclusion. But I don't think they did. Its logical conclusion would be, peace, trying to make peace, right? Not let's make weird Nazi death camp, but with monkeys,
Wait, did the humans make the death camps? Or
Yeah,
the
the humans basically made Auschwitz.
All right.
Um,
The only way that I really think that, I guess, if you want to complete the series to its logical conclusion, is end the movie with it being Planet of the Apes.
which I guess that they could still do, but
Yeah.
okay, again, spoilers. Do you care if I spoil this?
No, I do not.
Okay.
My brother's already told me it, so.
Okay, so at the end of the movie, the main character, what's his name? The main monkey?
Caesar.
Dies.
Yeah.
So I feel like it would be really odd to make another movie because it's like it functions as sort of this trilogy about Caesar's, birth and death.
Yeah.
Just stop it there. But then of course you don't get to the Planet of the Apes. So I don't know. I feel like it was weird, and Caesar's death wasn't earned either. I felt like I should be sad, but I just wasn't. I was just more like, really, we're doing this? Okay.
Yeah. The one thing I heard from like the trailers and stuff like that was it was War for the Planet of the Apes. The finale in the trilogy. This is where it should become Planet of the Apes at the end. That's how it should have ended.
You would think. I wish they had just gone in the complete opposite direction though. And at the end of this movie, you see the beginnings of the peace process between the humans and the apes.
Right.
I would have been happy with that because you don't need to make it to Planet of the Apes if you decide to go in your own direction and you commit to that.
Yeah.
But this was more like they were just ignoring Planet of the Apes, right? I feel like there's a difference there. Where it's like you can commit to your own direction, or you can just leave people hanging, feeling like you're trying to get to Planet of the Apes. And that's what the end of War for the Planet of the Apes felt like to me.
Yeah. And for me, why I thought it should always, this should have been like it ends at Planet of the Apes because, this is the end of the trilogy. And, it's sort of war. It's the deciding factor. Was the movies always sort of felt like they dealt themselves as a prequel to the original film. Like, that's what it always felt like.
That's definitely what the first one felt like, especially. Yeah. Now, something else I will say about War for the Planet of the Apes that I thought was interesting is there's about probably like a half-hour chunk of the movie where there's no dialogue.
Really?
Yeah. And it was probably my favorite part of the movie. It felt like Logan almost. Where it was just sort of gritty and depressing, and Caesar was just pissed and miserable. And there's a whole section where there's no dialogue because the apes aren't really talking to each other. They use sign language, and they find a mute girl, and people being mute becomes a plot point.
Yeah.
But for now, they find this mute girl, so they can't talk to her. She can't talk to them. Yeah. And so there's this big chunk of the movie that's just silent. And it was great. I wish that they had taking that further. It's like
Yeah.
the beginning of the third Riddick movie,
Yeah.
where it's like the beginning of it is just all silent and him alone. If that had been the entire movie, I would have been so happy. I can't even tell
Yeah.
you how happy that would have made me. But yeah, in this, that was my favorite chunk of the movie,
Yeah.
and then it sort of devolves into like the weird humanist Auschwitz type thing, and I was like, all right, I guess this is where we're going with this. Okay.
So what was the plot point for the mute girl?
It's basically a part of the virus. It makes people mute
Yeah.
first.
See, and that's where that explains why people aren't talking in the original Planet of the Apes, why they're all mute.
I don't
I
know if they
guess.
did that on purpose, but
I know I don't think they did it on purpose, but it feels like that.
again, that's one of those things where it's like you either need to fully commit to your own direction or you need to actually make it to the Planet of the Apes. Because
Yeah.
right now they're in this weird area where it feels like they want to go their own direction, but they're still like dangling Planet of the Apes in front of the audience. Like, we're gonna get there eventually. Like,
Yeah.
are you? Are you really? All right. So at number 10, we're coming down to the top 10.
Oh boy.
Number 10 is Thor Ragnarok.
Oh boy.
So this top 10 is really where it just gets on my fucking nerves. And we're going to try to fire through a lot of these.
Yeah.
So number 10 with 92% is Thor Ragnarok.
Yeah, pretty much I think I've said some of my thoughts on it earlier, in that it really is kind of weird, and for for a brief scene you have Sam Neill and Matt Damon show up in the same scene.
Right, yeah, you did tell me about that.
Yeah. And it honestly felt, it was obviously studio directed, but it felt like the director Taika Waititi actually had some say in the directing,
Mm-hmm.
and he chose that say just to be a big stab at Disney.
Well, what I know and what we've talked about is Chris Hemsworth. The reason Thor Ragnarok is the way it is, and the reason why it's like more funny than the other Thor movies, is because apparently Chris Hemsworth. Yeah, Chris Hemsworth listens to one of Kevin Smith's podcasts and heard Kevin Smith talk about how the Thor movies are taking themselves too seriously or something along those lines. And so Chris Hemsworth was like, you know what? You're right, Kevin Smith. And basically made Thor Ragnarok for Kevin Smith in a way.
Yeah.
And when Kevin Smith heard that, his mind was just like blown. Like, what the fuck? Why? But so, yeah, I don't know. I thought that was just really weird and interesting. That's the reason this movie took on a different tone.
Yeah. And talking about the Thor movies alone, it's better than both Thor movies by a long shot. It's actually better than most Marvel movies, but it's still a Marvel movie, and it's still shit.
You remember that the video, the Thor video that came out on YouTube a while ago, where he was just living with some dude who works in an office? Can we have that movie, please, where Thor doesn't fight anybody? It's just Thor trying to live in like an apartment with a roommate.
A Thor sitcom?
Yeah. Oh my God, that would be amazing. That would be way better than any of the Marvel movies if we could just have that movie. All right.
That
So
would be hilarious.
number 9 with 97% is the new Pixar movie Coco.
Have not seen it.
Neither have I, but I would like to.
Yes, it looks interesting.
It does.
It looks like Pixar actually picked their nuts up off the ground and made
right.
a good movie.
It looks like Pixar sort of like took a breath and went back to their golden age. And I can't say that for sure because again, I haven't seen it, but it looks definitely like a cut above. What was the fucking dinosaur movie?
Good Dinosaur.
The Good Dinosaur.
Where they tripped on shrooms or whatever.
Yeah, okay. So
that was the only redeeming scene in that movie.
You have Brave, which was
was that Pixar?
Yes, that's the thing.
God, that felt like it was a Disney original.
Disney or DreamWorks? Because to me it felt like DreamWorks.
Yeah,
It to
in a
me
weird
to
way.
me it felt like Pixar trying to be DreamWorks, and then you have The Good
For some
Dinosaur,
reason.
which is just weird.
Yep.
And then you had
Cars
oh
3.
well, Cars 2 and
Yeah.
3, which I haven't seen Cars. I haven't seen either one of those.
Really?
No.
Okay, basically all you need to know is Cars 3 is pretty much Cars 1.
Okay.
But shit.
So you have like that the section of movies where it's just like, really, Pixar, really, you fucking made Ratatouille and oh shit, what's the one with the little robot?
The little robot, Wally.
Wally, yeah, you fucking made Ratatouille and Wally, and now you're giving me The Good Dinosaur. So,
And we're getting a sequel to The Incredibles.
which I have hope for, but
think is
very
like
guarded
18
hope.
Yeah, I think it's like, what is it, 14 years too late
Yeah.
now?
Oh, it's too late. Yeah, but I still have guarded hope. Anyway,
Yeah.
Coco looks good.
Yeah.
I'm anxious to see it.
Yeah.
I hope it's good.
My only reservation is seeing it in theaters while it's in theaters because of the 20-minute
The short
Frozen
film.
short in front of it about that fucking snowman that doesn't matter.
All right.
So I'll wait for it to be in Redbox and rent it for $1.
Number 8 with 93%. Baby Driver.
Right. You can talk about that one.
I don't have much to say except I think I loathed this movie. You liked it, or you said it was okay.
I said it was okay.
I hated the movie. Like, the longer it went on, the more I wanted to fucking punch the main character in his goddamn face. I fucking hated him.
Yeah.
I hated everybody. Like, there wasn't a likable character in the movie. And I had heard, and the reason that I wanted to see it is like, oh, the whole it's supposed to be like a kinetic movie. It's kinetic action. People kept throwing the word kinetic around when they were talking about.
Yeah, keep in mind, I had never heard about this until you brought it up.
Okay.
So I didn't know, and I still thought it was okay.
The director was talking about this. Like, this isn't just some bullshit that people pull out of their asses. Like, the director was like, no, I wanted to take like a more kinetic approach to like car movies. Yeah. And so it's like all of the action is supposed to be driven by the music that the main character is listening to. And while I'm watching the movie, I kept fucking waiting for that to happen.
Yeah, I never saw any of the interviews with the director. So whose name I'm blanking.
So,
God damn it.
but this huge, the huge thing about the movie's gimmick didn't even show up in the movie as far as I was concerned. And when you actually just look at the movie for what it is, it's a subpar Drive, like really subpar.
Like so subpar it feels like an asylum film.
I don't know that I would call it an asylum
film.
The
asylum version of Drive.
But basically, I hated all of the characters. Kevin Spacey, like, all of that shit aside, he shows up in movies from time to time where I'm like, you're just not good in this movie. Like, I love Kevin Spacey as an actor, but there are some movies where he's just not trying, and Drive is one of them.
Yeah. Baby Driver.
Or, I'm sorry, Baby Driver, not Drive.
Yeah, Drive was actually good.
Drive is a good movie.
And doesn't have Kevin Spacey in it.
Yeah.
But Baby Driver, for me, I had to deal with sitting in the theater with everybody around me being like, oh, fuck yeah, this is the best movie ever. And I was just sitting there like, this is mediocre.
It felt a lot like Guardians of the Galaxy in a way, just sort of leaning on its music more so than its own merits.
Which the music really...
The music in Baby Driver is all over the place in terms of, like, genre, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. Like, it's all over the place in terms of both genre and time, like, release date. Yeah. Which, again, isn't necessarily a bad thing. It's just, it doesn't feel like it has any flow from one to the next. It's just random, whatever random song the editor felt like using is basically what it felt like to me.
Yeah, and that's something that I want to say I'm very disappointed with in an Edgar Wright film.
Yeah, that's right. It's Edgar Wright.
Yep.
Who I have kind of a love-hate relationship with. I love Shaun of the Dead.
Yep.
I like Hot Fuzz. I have issues with Hot Fuzz.
Mm-hmm.
And oh shit, what was it? End of the World or
World's
at World's End, or not at World's End? That was a Pirates of the Caribbean movie. World's End was good, approaching mediocre.
Yeah.
Right.
Did you ever see his Alien film? Whatever that was, Paul or whatever.
He didn't do Paul.
It wasn't him.
No.
Who did Paul?
See, he was supposed to do Paul.
Oh.
Right. See, that was supposed to be.
That's where I'm confused.
See, Simon Pegg and
Yeah,
Nick
Nick
Frost. That was supposed to be. Paul was supposed to be their third movie with Edgar Wright, but Edgar Wright was directing something else at the time. I don't remember what, and couldn't do it. So they did Paul with a different director, and then they got back together for World's End.
Okay.
Paul is great, by the way.
That confusion cleared.
So yeah, really disappointed with Baby Driver. I didn't have like particularly high hopes for it, and I was still really disappointed by it.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm probably more forgiving of it because I enjoy B movies or bad movies.
But
in
it's
a sense
not
that,
really though. Like it's not like a fun B movie though.
Well, B movies and bad movies in the sense that I can go in and watch them and not violently hate them as much as you may.
See, I will say that a lot of the time I do I have a much stronger reaction to bad movies, but really or what it actually is I have a strong reaction to movies, especially studio films, where you can tell just nobody fucking tried or that just completely fail.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
And Baby Driver felt like nobody fucking tried.
Yeah, and that's sad because Edgar Wright seems like somebody who gives a shit.
Mm-hmm.
But the Baby Driver just came off like nobody fucking cared.
Yeah.
Anyway, number 7 with 92% is Last Jedi.
I think we've covered that enough.
Yeah, we've covered that one. Number 6 at 93% is Logan.
Right.
Decent. I don't have a lot to say about it. It's decent. It's not as good as it should have been. They slipped back into the superhero type bullshit too much.
Yep. I definitely felt that one of the big problems was that they front loaded the movie with, "Look, I'm an R-rated movie."
Yeah, that's true. They did. Let's make Wolverine say fuck a lot.
Yeah, there's a lot of gore. There's titties.
Yeah.
So.
But good movie. Yeah. Not as good as it should have been, and not as good as what I think everybody felt that it was.
Yeah.
Because you can easily see the much greater potential in it. Number 5 with 99% is a movie called Lady Bird. I don't know what that is. I will look it up later, though.
Clue.
Number 4 with 92% is Wonder Woman.
Right.
Now, I would agree that Wonder Woman should be on this list. Wonder Woman was a good movie up until the last 20, 30 minutes.
Where she fought Ares?
Yeah. Right. Like, I'm not going to get in. Like, this is like an entire podcast on its own, how I think Wonder Woman should have done. Yeah, that's true. My thoughts on it are up on YouTube right now.
You talked for 2 hours about it.
Over 2 hours.
Over 2 hours about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But basically, without getting too much into it, we really shouldn't have had Ares in it at all. The movie should have been about Wonder Woman learning that humanity is fundamentally flawed and that it doesn't take a god to turn us against each other.
Yeah.
Right? That should have been the moral of the movie. It should have been what Wonder Woman learned.
Which it was leading us until the last 20 minutes.
It looked like that was where they were going, and then the last 20 minutes happens, and they have to have the big fucking blue laser in the sky, and they have to fight a fucking...
The god.
the
British dude.
They have to fight a teetotaling god with like the weird like British mustache under the head, like the fucking death metal helmet.
Yep.
But the movie overall is good, and it was definitely among the best of the modern superhero movies.
There weren't many moments, but just a few I noticed. There was some bad CG, before the fight.
Oh,
There was some bad
yes.
compositing.
The CG during the fight, though, is absolutely awful. That is the
Yeah.
definition of CG vomit.
Like, that was something I watched it and I couldn't even tell what was happening.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's all over the place. And it's completely inconsistent in terms of quality. Like sometimes an effect will look pretty decent,
Yeah.
and then other times the same effect will look like ass.
Yeah.
Like sometimes fire looks good, and sometimes it looks like a game from 20 years ago. Okay, not 20 years ago, but you get my point, right? Sometimes it
Yeah.
looks good, sometimes it looks like a video game, and
Yeah.
just
Yeah, there was some
pissed me off because, God, not only did they just have to throw fucking CG in your face, but they also fucked up the story.
Yeah. One of the things with that was when they'd show, like, zooming into Themyscira and you'd see, the landscape shots as it was coming in.
Yeah.
And the compositing on those was really fucking weird.
Yeah.
And
well,
some
compositing
yeah.
has been a problem in
Yeah.
a lot of recent movies. Like, why? Is this not technology that we know how to use at this point?
For the past 40 years?
Well, not necessarily 40 years, but
Close.
But in the time that we've
25 years.
Yeah,
I'd say is
like,
more appropriate.
Yeah. Have we not learned how to use green screens yet? Because we used to know how to use them.
Yeah. We used to know how to use the blue version of them.
Yeah, but now you can totally just call a green screen shot like that, like nothing. It's like, oh,
Yeah.
they're in front of a green screen. You didn't used to be able to do that, and not just because people weren't as attuned to it, right? I mean, you look at Titanic.
Yeah.
You look at Titanic, they used not only blue screens but also black screens. And the compositing on a lot of those shots is flawless. Like,
Yep.
Did you even know that when they're in the water at the end and you can see everybody's breath, that is not on set? That they composited the breath? Like, I bet most people didn't know that because it looks flawless.
It
Or
does.
the people standing in the engine room. The engine room is a miniature. They shot the live action actors on blue screen and composited them, and it looks flawless. So what the fuck has happened in recent movies where they just forgot how to composite?
Yeah.
All right, so number
Anyways.
3 with 92% is Dunkirk. Dunkirk, great movie. The antithesis of CG vomit. Dunkirk did almost everything practically, and when I say almost everything, I literally mean almost everything. I'm actually not entirely sure how much, if any, CG's in it. I'm sure there's got to be some. CG.
I know there's some compositing and some enhancements in it, but other than that,
right? Like
not much.
Like, I mean, even down to when you see Tom Hardy in the cockpit of the airplane flying, he's literally in the cockpit of an airplane flying, right? Like, they didn't just shoot that on a set. No, they put Tom Hardy in a fucking airplane and filmed that shit, right? The boats sinking, they sunk boats.
Yep.
And the movie itself is unique in the way that it tells a story.
Yep.
It is a movie that I would say is more about the experience than it is about the story or the characters.
Yeah.
The story and the characters take a back seat to just the raw experience of the movie, and that's really interesting.
Yeah.
And that's something that Chris Nolan sort of did with Interstellar also, where the massive impact of the experience of it was more important
than Matthew McConaughey.
Than Matthew McConaughey. And Dunkirk is a good movie.
Yeah.
I could definitely come up with some flaws and some things that I think could have been done better, but
Yeah.
you can do that with any movie. Overall, it's a great movie.
Yeah. And I thought the kid from One Direction who was in it
Yeah.
was pretty good.
Yeah, like, I didn't even know that until I looked him up, and I was like, what the fuck? Like, why is he in this movie? And it's like, no, he's good. He's fine. Yeah. Number 2 is a movie called The Big Sick, which I've heard of, but I don't know what it is, and I don't think I've ever even seen the trailer.
No clue.
Now we get to my main problem. I don't know if you've seen this movie, but I sure as fuck have. The number 1 movie for 2017 with a 99% on Rotten Tomatoes is Get Out.
Yes, I've seen that movie.
Okay. I don't want to talk about it for too long. We're already running a little long in the tooth here.
Oh yeah.
But that's okay. Get Out. Why do people like this movie so much?
Because black person's protagonist.
Like, is that literally it? Because
that's it.
I don't want to believe that that's where we are as a society. Is like, oh, a black director is making a movie with a black main character about how white people are evil, and we all have to like this movie because political correctness.
That's literally it.
Because if you remove the political correctness element, right?
Yeah.
If you replace all of the racial shit,
Yep.
and you just look at what the story is as a story,
It's a bog standard slasher film almost.
well, not a
not
slasher. It's a bog standard horror.
Yeah, horror.
You know, there's nothing unique about it.
Yeah.
There's nothing interesting really about it. It's just a guy who goes to a place, gets trapped in a place, has to escape place. That's all it is.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not even done very well. And it can't decide if it wants... Okay, this movie... I was told this movie was a comedy horror. Where
Really?
the fuck does the comedy come into this? Like, is that something that people just assumed because it was directed by...
What's his face from Key and Peele?
Yeah, I don't remember which one of them
It
directed
was
it.
Jordan Peele, I think.
Whatever.
Yeah, I think it was Jordan Peele.
Point is, like, the movie just made me angry.
Yeah.
Because it has no real substance to it.
Yeah.
It's literally white people are evil, and all black people are saints, apparently.
Yeah.
And that's what really frustrated me, because that's what I was told it wasn't. Because as soon as I saw the trailer, I was like, motherfucker, this is going to be a preachy racial film.
Yep. I knew it too.
And that's what it turned out to be. And everybody loved it. And I really, even though I don't want to feel this way, I really feel like we have another Brokeback Mountain situation here, where it's like, okay, Brokeback Mountain comes out, and it's one of the first like studio films to really be solely about a gay relationship. So we all have to like it, or we're homophobes, right?
Yeah.
And that's really what Get Out feels like, is we all have to like this movie or we're racist. No, it's just a bad movie.
And here's the thing. Despite what the ratings say here, everyone fucking hates this movie.
Everybody that I've met hasn't liked it. That's the thing, where it's like, you go online and everybody's talking about, oh, it's a great movie.
No, not even that. All I've seen about it recently is everybody saying, why the fuck is this rated so highly? This is a shit film.
Yeah, just I don't know. I like all of the critics were like, "Oh, the movie's fucking amazing." You know, when it first came out, people were telling me it's great, but I guess it kind of has like the Star Wars effect going on, where it's like the longer after it comes out, the more people are like, maybe it wasn't that great.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, no, it's not that great. It actively like made me angry while I was watching it. Not just because of the racial thing.
Yeah.
Like, the preachiness of it was irritating, but what made me angry is there was no story to back it up, right? That's what's always most important to me, is fucking tell me a good story, you know? Or else why am I watching your movie?
Yeah.
And Get Out fails fundamentally.
Yeah. And literally the only positive things I've heard about it are it's it's so progressive, a black person stands up against the white man. Like,
really,
if
that's
you want
progressive
at
this point?
If you want that in a movie that's not as preachy, Straight Outta Compton's a better example.
Yeah, oh my god, yes. Straight Outta Compton's a great example of, like, actual, oppression and overcoming it and standing up against white society who's treating them badly.
Yeah.
Straight Outta Compton is a great movie because it has great characters with great development and a great story,
Yep.
which is everything that Get Out doesn't have.
So lesson is go see Straight Out of Compton. Don't see Get Out.
or see Get Out, but
or-
have the balls to admit that it's bad.
Yeah.
All right. So now that we've gotten to the end of that, of the
right.
list, are there any movies in 2018 that you're looking forward to?
In 2018, I can't think of any movies that are coming out next year that I'm really excited for.
Well, I'll tell you, I'm really interested in seeing Battle Angel, Alita.
Right. I saw a trailer with that before Last Jedi.
Mm-hmm.
It looks like a bog standard Robert Rodriguez film because it was a new trailer as well.
I think. Oh, was it a new trailer?
From what I could tell, it was a different trailer from the one I watched.
Okay. Well, the original trailer that dropped, it feels like there's something different and unique going on in it.
Yeah.
And I hope that's true.
Yeah.
And
so, yeah, this was a new trailer, remembering it, and it definitely felt like a Robert Rodriguez film.
I mean, it was directed by Robert Rodriguez.
Yeah.
I fucking wish James Cameron had directed it and would, like, do we need 5,000 Avatar sequels, really?
That are all filmed back to back.
I'll see the second one.
Yeah.
I'll hope it's good. I mean, James Cameron is sort of the standing king of the sequel, so we'll see. I think Avatar 2 comes out in 2018. It might be 2019.
I think it's 2019.
All right. There's also Deadpool 2.
Right, that comes out next year.
And
this is probably the last R-rated Deadpool we'll probably get.
Yeah,
so
because Disney owns it now, so yeah. There's The Incredibles 2, which...
That's actually next year? I thought that was 2019.
Apparently. According to this, it's 2018.
Wow. I'll see The Incredibles 2.
Yeah, I'll see it,
I
we'll
still
hope.
think it's way too late for a sequel to that.
Yeah.
But
There's a fucking another Mamma Mia movie?
yes, there is.
My God. The Predator.
Yep, that's
Great goodie. So that's Disney now.
Yep.
Tomb Raider. Oh my God.
Another one?
This looks like based on the new video games.
Oh boy.
And just the cover. Oh, that does not look like Lara Croft to me. Oh God, the all-female Oceans movie.
Yep.
Why do we need that? Because the Ghostbusters thing worked out really fucking well.
Yeah.
This is turning into a list of movies I don't want to see. Venom's coming out in 2018.
Right, Tom Hardy playing Eddie Brock.
Yeah, so I'll be interested in that one. I'm not interested in The Nun.
What? The Nun?
The spinoff from
Conjuring.
Yeah, Conjuring, not Insidious. Conjuring 2.
There's another Insidious coming out.
Yes, there's another Insidious coming out as well.
And it makes me want to vomit.
So, yeah, there's a few, at least potentially interesting movies coming out.
A couple.
So, as we will end every episode with a recommendation.
All right.
For a movie to watch, would you like to begin?
All right. My recommendation for today shall be Straight Outta Compton.
Oh yeah, sure. I'll back that. Definitely go watch Straight Outta Compton. And I will, on top of it, recommend Social Network. You know what? I don't think enough people. I think everybody has seen Social Network, but I don't think enough people really watched it, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
People brushed it off as like, oh, it's a Facebook movie. Who gives a shit?
Yeah.
It's a really good movie. And if you're one of those people who watched it and thought, oh, it's just a Facebook movie, go watch it again.
And now you watch it again with the hindsight that Sean Park and several other co-creators of Facebook regret creating Facebook.
Yeah, that's definitely an interesting point.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, go watch Straight Outta Compton, which is a great film.
Fantastic film.
And go watch Social Network, which is another great film. So that's, I think, all we have. We ran pretty long today, but I don't
Hopefully
know. That's
editing
okay.
will bring it down.
No, fuck that. We had a good conversation.
All raw video or raw audio.
So, that concludes episode 2 of the Watz podcast. We don't have an outro for this podcast yet,
No.
so I guess just fuck it. Good night.
Night.